Welcome back to Philosophical Fall Guy. Here we talk to Hollywood's top stunt performers and go behind the scenes to hear their stories. Then we dive a little deeper to see what they ponder about in those moments of silence between the chaos. I'm your host, Duke Jackson. My next guest has 144 credits according to IMDb. She has had 5 nominations for Outstanding Action Performance by a Stunt Ensemble in a Motion Picture for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain America Civil War, Transformers Dark of the Moon, and Heroes. She went on to win 2 awards for the same category, one for Heroes in 2009 and one for Black Panther. She is a phenomenal stunt performer and a wonderful person and a personal friend. Nancy Thurston, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is cool.
Thanks for that intro.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of came up a little bit together at the Phantasmic. We used to work together, and that was what a fun show that was, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have had that for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I just did it part-time after a while, but yeah, that was...
Did you start that show?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
One of the original cast members that lasted over 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Met a lot of great people.
Yeah, we
so,
sure did.
yeah.
So many great people did that show.
Oh, yeah. I'll probably be talking about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But usually we just kind of start from the beginning. So where are you from?
Peoria, Illinois.
Okay.
And grew up competing in one sport or another since I was 5, swimming and diving and doing gymnastics, along with a whole bunch of other sports. But because of gymnastics and swimming, I started to teach myself how to dive. Okay. So diving's kind of what helped propel me do what I dreamed of doing.
High diving. Basically.
Well, I ended up high diving. But swimming and gymnastics, I taught myself how to dive at the country club where I competed at. Then when I went to high school, I did swimming and diving there. Okay. And through that, I was able to get a scholarship at ISU, Illinois State. And diving at Illinois State, we went through 3 different coaches in 4 years. But the coach I had the last 2 years, Mark McCormick, he's the one that knew I wanted to be a stunt woman, and he's the one that helped me get introduced to the U.S. high diving team.
Oh,
so
okay.
that was my stepping stone. But I have to tell you a funny story. My dad, when I was at the country club playing around on the diving boards at the country club, my dad started to challenge me. And he said, if you learn a 1.5 the full twist, I'll take you and your sisters to Six Flags. I was like, all right. So I'd get up there every day and I'd practice and I got it. And I told my dad, I got it. And I showed it to him. He was like, guess I'm taking you and your sisters to Six Flags. And then the next year it was, if you learn a 2.5 pike. So I did it and he took me to Six Flags. Well, while we were at Six Flags, there was a high diving show. And I took pictures. You know, I was, 10, 12. I was young. And I took pictures and I looked at my dad and I was like, I could do that. And 10 years later, I ended up working for that company. And some of the people I worked with knew the people in the picture I showed them.
Really?
Because I still had the pictures from the high diving company.
That's cool.
But that's really helped me with the high school competition and then getting a scholarship. And then my coach, Mark McCormick, my last 2 years, he had heard of a stuntman that's his stepping stone was high diving. And then he was doing high falls and got into stunts, Bob Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And he said,
Bob Brown,
he goes, I'll get you an interview with the U.S. high diving team and maybe that could be your stepping stone. Yeah. So Mark McCormick was the one that helped introduce me to how I got into the business. And I did the high diving show at Magic Mountain. I was able to meet Bob Brown.
Cool.
And
where did you meet him at?
He had a big high fall going into a waterfall the first year I was out there. And so he came to Magic Mountain Six Flags in Valencia to practice because there's not a lot of ladders 80 feet, you know. And so he was out there practicing.
Was that for a film he was doing, or
I don't
just
know
a,
if it was a film or breaking a record, but it was a big fall off a waterfall, you know, and he came out to practice, and I told him, you know, where I was from and what I wanted. You know, I'm high diving, but I really want to get into stunts. And it was funny. He goes, you remind me of my ex-wife. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, wife, that's good, but it's ex, that's bad. So what part of that?
Yeah.
And I guess she was short, blonde. She was very athletic. But anyway, he said, he goes, I'll keep you in mind. And it wasn't overnight. It was almost maybe a year later, he called me and said, I have somebody that will Taft-Hartley you, and I think you're a good double for this girl. It was Kathy Long. She was a 5-time world champion kickboxer, amazing. And it was a low-budget film called Knights, Knights.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun. She was great to work with. Bob and John Epstein were amazing, and that's how I got my SAG card. Albert Pune was the director. He's the one that...
What year was that?
Oh, God, 92.
92.
I think it was
Okay.
1992 is when I got my SAG card. But that was my stepping stone, was high diving. And then I learned how to do high falls. And one of my first big stunts, like within 6 to 8 months, was a 95-foot high fall off a cliff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was River of Rage with Dave Cass, I think was the coordinator. He was pretty cool. But
Who was
Dave Cass.
Dave Cass?
Yeah, I don't know if you know him, but great guy. Gloria Fioramonte was doubling Victoria Principal throughout the whole movie, but she doesn't do high falls. So they brought me in just for the high fall. Gloria was her stunt double the whole movie. But for the big high fall off the cliff, that was me. But then when you see her going into the water, that's Gloria. And she was so sweet. Before I did the fall, she, you know, took me on the back of the cliff and said a prayer with me. And she took pictures of me doing the high fall. Of course, I used it on my composite for years. But she was super sweet. Because, you know, a lot of times when you come in to double a double, you know, you're like, I hope they're, you know, I'm not here to take your job. I'm just here to help with something and leave. And she was super sweet girl. And but that was kind of fun to do a big high fall on film.
So had you done a dive that high before? The 95 footer?
I've the highest I've gone into water was 75 feet, and the highest into an airbag is 95. And the week I was doing a 95 footer, Bob Brown was doing something like 200 foot for, I think it was a commercial. And all I can remember was like, I'm half the height Bob is right now. And I'm like, this is high enough.
He was pretty much the high fall king, though.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He could do anything
Yeah,
in the air.
he was like a cat. I was there when he did the one out of the helicopter on top of the building in, was it not Westlake Village? It was, you remember?
Where he came out on fire?
No. I was there too. Yeah, that was down by Beverly. Yeah, I think I got to see him do a couple, like where he's breaking a record or, but I mean, he's like a cat. You know, he'll go out one way and start twisting and then see the bags like, oh, I better twist the other way. And like, how many people can change their mind in the middle of the air? You know, I loved high falls, did hundreds, thousands, because I used to do a show with Karen and Danny Castle. Obviously, Danny's the one that helped us with Phantasmic. But high falls, we used to practice Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays out at Karen and Danny's. He had a ladder that went to 80 feet. And that was a lot of fun and a blessing.
How high could you go up on there?
80. There was a 45, 60, and 80-foot perch. And I typically did the 60 and 80. Wow. I did a handstand, like 1 1/4 off 60. And then that was tricky when he was teaching me how to kick up into a handstand. Low, and then you take it up to 60. It's a heart thumper.
I bet.
It was fun doing that one. But my favorite trick was a flying backflip. Just pop off and just sail it and then turn it over last minute. I worked with another guy with Karen and Danny that he did a backflip at 80, but he would do, it almost looked like a standing back tuck, and then he'd line it up all the way down. I'd kill myself if I did it that way. Mine was more like, it looked like I was doing a back dive into the airbag.
And then at the last minute,
you just tuck it over and line it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a lot of fun working with, and I met Karen and Danny Castle, or I met Danny at a commercial audition. It was a diving commercial audition. We got to talking, but the way that the conversation started, when I started in the high diving and high falls, that was kind of my thing. But of course, you got to be well rounded.
Right.
A friend of mine came and asked if I wanted to learn trapeze. And I said, "You mean trampoline?" They go, "No, trapeze." And I said, "I thought you had to be born and raised in the circus to do that."
Yeah.
And Gary Littlejohn, was training people, and I got invited, and I was learning, to fly on trapeze. I was having so much fun. And high diving had ended because it was seasonal. It went about May to October.
You didn't do that down at the Santa Monica Pier?
No, just at Magic Mountain in Valencia.
Oh, okay.
And we did a tour in New Braunfels, Texas. So we did a tank show down there for 10 days.
I meant the trapeze, because I know they used to have like a training place down there.
Right. No, I've seen it, but I've never done it down there.
Where did you learn it at?
He was in the valley. It was in his backyard. Yeah, he just taught people for fun.
That's cool.
I was just learning for fun, and it was so funny. I called my dad and my mom and dad. I have great parents, but my dad, he was always challenging me. I called my dad and I said, "Guess what I got to do today?" And he's like, "What?" I go, "I got to learn how to fly on the trapeze." He's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you going to do? Run away with the circus now?" Because nothing surprised him. And I said, "No, I'm just learning for the business, because you never know."
Yeah.
Well, a couple weeks later, Gary came up to me and said, "Do you need a job? Do you like to travel?" And I said, "Yes and yes." I was working at Denny's. I went from high diving to Denny's because I wasn't SAG yet, and I was still trying to break into the business.
But you weren't doing the live diving shows at this time?
Yes, but it was seasonal. So it was off season.
Okay.
So we would dive May to October, and then the other couple of months, I was just trying to do whatever I could to stay in the LA area and try to break into stunts. Right. So I was working at Denny's, living with 2 or 3 other people, and just training. And so I was training trapeze just for fun. I had no idea this opportunity was going to land in my lap, but Gary said, "I have a friend of mine. His name's Ray Valentine with the Flying Valentines. He had a gig booked, a Shrine Circus, 3-ring circus, 2-guy, 2-girl act, and his wife got pregnant." Gee, how'd that happen? And he needed a girl that was a quick learner and could come down and start training right away. And they were down in Conroe, Texas, which is outside of Houston. And they were training at Ray's mom's house. They had a trapeze set up outside. So he's like, "Call this number." So I called the guy, and he interviewed me over the phone. I drove down a week later, and I had to call my dad and go, "Guess what? I'm running away with the circus." And he just laughed. I'm very fortunate. I have parents, and my sisters never made me feel stupid, having these kind of dreams coming from Peoria, Illinois. It's like, I want to be a stunt woman,
Yeah. So how many sisters do you have?
2. 2? One older, one younger.
Okay.
Both married with kids, and
they didn't go into the stunts or diving or anything like
we were
that?
all athletic, but I'm the only one that took it to the extreme. I try to get them to do things every once in a while. A couple of years ago, I got both of them to zip line.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah, they wanted to strangle me because I told them it was the beginner, but it wasn't. But I knew they could handle it. They could handle it, and we had a lot of fun. I've gotten my younger sister to jump off a cliff. I've gotten her to do bungee jumping. Thought she was going to kill me, and got her up in a parasail. But she keeps telling me, "I'll never jump out of a plane." I said, "Never say never. I'll get y'all up there next." But
that's cool.
But they're adventurous, but not quite. They like to keep their feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But they've always been supportive. My parents have always been supportive.
Were you ever afraid of heights, or were you kind of like attracted to heights and high places, or?
I loved, and out of the 1 and 3 meter, I loved the 3 meter, the higher board. Yeah. When I got to do high diving, I was so excited because we had mini trampolines on the 10 meter platform. Like
Oh,
the
cool.
Olympics,
Yeah.
they compete off the platform. We had mini trampolines and like a two-step ladder, and we would jump, hit the mini tramp, and then do a trick. And we'd do it tandem. And it was funny. One of the guys I dove with some great guys, Hamilton Riddle, John Dish, Steve Shriver, a little,
Steve
Steve.
Shriver. Yeah. He's from the water world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. But Hamilton's like 6'2" and I'm 5'1", and he and I used to do tandem double halves or branny backs, and it's so funny to see him and I up there, but we'd do them in tandem, so that was a lot of fun. And then the radio tower ladder, and we had a perch at 60 and a perch at 80. So it was, yeah, I was never afraid of. I mean, I respect it.
Respected it.
You
Yeah.
know, I've had friends. Because when I met Danny Castle after doing circus, and it was only a couple of months I got to do the circus, when I met Danny at the high diving, somehow we started talking about circus. And he was like, I have a group called the American Acrobats. You should come out and meet us and train with us and see if you'd like to blah, blah, blah. So that's when I started going out to Redlands and being able to practice high falls, trapeze 3 days a week.
Wow.
Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays we used to train. And it was through that, and then again, how I got to get into Fantasmic, because Danny was the coordinator for because it was all this little connect the dots,
Yeah, yeah.
But doing the high falls, I don't know. It was scary at first going from high diving to high falls, because of course when you dive, you want to be feet first or head first.
Right.
You can't do that in an airbag. And so it took me a little bit of time low to learn how to hit, because when you start going on your back, your brain, being a diver from age 5 to 25, your brain's like, this is wrong, this is wrong. Right. But when you learn how to land properly in the airbag, once I got that, I went up the ladder fairly quickly because of my diving. But whenever I'm training anybody, I always make sure they go slow, because that's when a lot of people can get hurt, is when they go too high too fast.
Too soon. Yeah.
Yeah, or the peer pressure, or someone else is doing it and they feel like they got to do it. It's like, no, everybody go at your own pace.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the fall, it's the landing. And you need to, and I've always respected heights. Even though, like I said, I can't even count how many high falls I've done. But
Did you, when you were first learning and transitioning from the diving to the high falls, did you have some where you kind of landed feet heavy, or, wrongly?
there was a few times where it was slightly wrong. Thank goodness not bad, but I could tell how you can mess yourself up pretty bad. I mean, obviously we both know people that have either been killed or paralyzed because they landed wrong. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that high.
No, it doesn't.
I sadly, I know someone who got paralyzed at like 15, 20 feet into a porta pit. Wow. It's not the height, it's how you land on the bag or the porta pit or the boxes. Right. Because people think, they say, what's your scariest high fall? And it's not, I've done a couple at 92, 95 feet. I mean, yes, those get your heart pumping and you got to treat them seriously. But my toughest one that I did was with Bob Brown, where I had a knife in one hand and a grenade in the other, and I had to run off and do a gainer, and in the gainer, throw the grenade back at the monster.
Wow.
And so I had to do a gainer and then, quarter twist or half twist into the boxes.
What was that for?
Nemesis, another low budget movie. Nemesis 2 or 3. It was one of the Nemesis movies. A lot of fun to work on those low budget movies, and do a lot of stuff. But that was a challenge. But I mean, that's his forte. So he's like, no problem. I'm like, no problem for you. Oh my gosh. But it was.
Explain again. So you had to throw a grenade.
Yeah, I had to run off and do a gainer, and it was only maybe 12 or 14 feet. It wasn't very high, but it was tricky. So that's what I was trying to say. It's not always the high falls that are the scarier, harder ones for me. It was the trickier ones lower. And this one was a running gainer. I have a knife in one hand, a gainer, grenade in the other, and I had to throw the grenade back at the monster that was standing behind me, and then do a half twist and go into the boxes. And I was so nervous,
It's
but
technical.
I got to practice off like a box truck or something. He
Yeah.
had me do. I got to do a little practice before I had to do it on film, and obviously, I just listened to what he said, and it went well. I think we got it in one take,
Nice.
but it was.
Did they shoot that in like slow motion and stuff too? It'd be kind of a cool slow motion shot.
I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, and I think we were in Globe, Miami, Arizona. The first one was in Moab, Utah. The Nights. The first movie I ever got to work on was in Moab, Utah. It was beautiful. Arches National Park and all that area. And then the Nemesis 1 and 2, I think that was in Globe, Miami, Arizona.
Okay.
So some other cool
Was
locations.
this like mid '90s or somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early 90s. Yeah. Mid 90s by then. And it was funny. First, it's a kickboxer, and then it was a professional bodybuilder, Sue Price. She was
Really?
built like a brick house. She was amazing and super sweet, super sweet. But she was the one that I was doubling on the Nemesis movies. But yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did what was the show again for you did the 95 footer?
River of Rage. It was a TV movie with
TV
Victoria
movie, okay.
Principal.
River of what?
River of Rage.
Rage. Okay.
Yep. She was camping. She gets kidnapped and held hostage. She ends up escaping. So that's how she runs off the cliff, as she's escaping from her kidnapper. Yeah, so it was a made-for-TV movie, not a feature film.
Okay. So when was it that you felt like you actually were kind of established? So like the question is like when you knew it that you felt like, I've kind of gotten to where
Well,
I am a established stunt performer now.
Well, I think, at least for me, you always feel like it's like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Have I done it? But when kind of a dream came true, because I grew up watching Wonder Woman, Bionic Woman, Charlie's Angels, all these action-packed women shows, and then of course Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, just so much fun 70s and 80s action shows. I always thought, man, that would be cool to double an action actress. Mm-hmm. Well, when I got SAG, I got to work on some pretty big movies. Titanic was one of my first movies, jumping off the ship and being in the lifeboat. So obviously that was very exciting to be a part of that movie.
And they did that in Mexico, right?
A lot of it in Mexico, Rosarito, Mexico. Mm-hmm. They did some, I think, in Nova Scotia, but myself and most of my friends that worked on it that I know of was down in Rosarito.
So you were one of the ones in the scene as the ship's going down that's kind of belling off of the
jump. Yes, there was
side.
only a few girls, mainly guys, but there was a few of us girls jumping off the ship. I wasn't in the scene where I was so bummed, because when I first got the call to work on Titanic, I was working on George of the Jungle, and I was happy to be working on the first George of the Jungle. But I got a call to work on Titanic, and I had to turn it down. I'd been trying to get on that show since it started. It just crushed me. I had to say no, but I had 2 more weeks left. And so I was so bummed. But then I got a call again a couple weeks later for another group. So when it went to the full 90, the scene where I'm not in that scene. That's the one that I had to miss. But I'm in some of the lifeboats, and, the one that almost lands on the other, and the guy's frantically cutting the rope. I'm in the lifeboat that's about to get smushed. I'm in a couple of different areas, but it's dark and there's so much happening. Because, like
tell.
for my parents, I can't say, look for me. I have to be there going, there I am, you know what I mean? It's so fast.
Yeah.
But it was neat to be a part of, and that was, like I said, down in Rosarito, Mexico. But that was cool to be a part of. But when timing is everything, hustling, it's like your friends. I got into Stunt Women's Association, and
nice.
So what we would do, if someone was working, hey, I'm working with, Noon tomorrow, come down and see him. This is where we're at. And Laura Dash was in our group, and she was working for Noon and Ernie. I've been trying to meet forever, because they did every TV show in town. Everybody wanted to know Noon and Ernie.
It was so hard to track down.
Oh, it took me forever to find Ernie. But Noon, my friend Laura was working for Noon, and I happened to have time that day, so I went down. I got to meet Noon, and like I said, timing is everything. He was looking me up at, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? And he was like, "Are you available for an interview next Tuesday?" I said, "Let me check my calendar." Yes. So I got to go to the interview, and up until it was during the first season of Charmed, and his dad started it, and then Noon took it over, but not anytime soon. The first several months of shooting, did they need all three actresses doubled at one time? One time they needed the character Prue doubled, another, so they had one or two girls kind of doing stunts here and there. Well, one day he needed all three to do a stunt together, flying back in the attic. And so I went to the interview originally he thought I would double Alyssa. But when I got there, I was a better double for Holly. And then
really?
Dorinda Moore was a better double for Alyssa. Okay. And Dana Reed doubled Shannon Doherty. And so I got the job. I was so excited. We did the stunt. And from then on, we were the three stunt doubles. Awesome. So for 8 seasons, we got to work together. And, Noon was the coordinator. David Huggins was the stunt rigging coordinator. After a few years, David's nephew, Michael, graduated and wanted to become a stuntman. So David was like, "I'll teach you everything I know." So he was teaching him rigging, but he also was a perfect double for my character's boyfriend, Leo.
Oh, cool.
And so Michael and I ended up doing a lot of stunts together because of our characters. And then later in the show, they got married, the characters. So that was fun. And but we were like a family and working together and so many great fun stunt people, because there was always action on that show. So many people coming and going, doubling other characters or special guest stars. So I don't want to say I made it, but that was the dream, to double an action actress. And so for 8 years, I was like, I felt so blessed. I never took for granted every day, and I didn't get carried. Like some shows back then, I think it was Buffy, some people would get carried and get paid weekly, whether they worked or not. Yeah. Charmed, we didn't get paid, we didn't get carried. Yeah. But Noon, was loyal to us. We were loyal to him, whenever he needed us. So I couldn't thank him enough for all those years. And Ernie hired me for a guest star near the beginning. So I had worked on Charmed. I just hadn't been doubling Holly. Right. So I got to work with Ernie on the show, and then when Noon took it over, got to work with Noon, and just a blessing to work with him and David. And it's so funny because him and David think so much alike, and they both have a great sense of humor. They're always trying to make each other laugh. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. But when we needed to be serious, we knew when to be serious, and we knew when to prank each other. But David would be on one side of the wall, Noon on the other, and they'd be setting up some rigging, and Noon would say, "I think we should blah, blah, blah," and Dave's like, "Already doing it," so they just really worked well together.
Wavelength.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, a dream. And I didn't know if it would ever happen again. And then timing, Heroes kicked up, and it was Ian Quinn that had it first. And he called me to double Hayden Panettiere. And I don't know if you watched the show Heroes, but it was a
long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was her character, her superpower, she couldn't die. So it was like doubling another action actress, because, with Charmed, they were all witches, flying across the room and slamming into things or getting hit by cars, but they couldn't die. Right. Heroes, doubling Hayden, that was her superpowers. You could do whatever you wanted to her, and she wouldn't die.
So you got
beat up a lot. I got beat up a lot, but it was that lasted 4 years, and I was like, nice. Just again blessed and appreciated every day, because you never know when it's going to happen. You never know when you can get those kind of jobs. Yeah. And then the third one. And like I said, you never get comfortable. I was very excited and happy I was doing what I dreamed of doing. Mm-hmm. But I always appreciated every day I got. And then I got to work with Emily Proctor on CSI Miami. She was a sweetheart. I got to take my mom and my sister to set one day and meet her and some of the characters that my mom liked, and got a picture with them. So that kind of made her day. But Emily Proctor, I got to double her. Not that she had a ton of stunts like the other two shows, but I got Jim Vickers, who I love, and got to work with him a lot. He hired me to double Emily I think the show went 10 years. I think I hooked up with her like the fifth or sixth. So 5 or 6 years I got to double Emily.
That's
And
awesome.
just a sweet, I'm a picture person, you
Yeah.
probably know, and I have a full book of everybody I've ever doubled.
That's cool.
And I don't go up with a camera and go, hey, can I get a picture with you?
Yeah.
I would feel them out, or their hair and makeup people are usually pretty close to them. So I would ask, would so and so mind if I asked for a picture later? And so I would always ask them earlier in the day whenever it felt comfortable. Say, when I wrap, could I get a picture with you?
Yeah.
And I've never had anybody say no. I know it's 50-50, and I would totally respect it. But I was pretty fortunate. Everybody was like, yeah. And a couple of the older ladies that I doubled, because I've doubled like 80 and 90-year-olds.
Really? Wow.
And they'd be like, only if you give me a copy. And I'm like, I could do that. So that's something that I have that I just love, some of the people that I got to work with. And I have a lot of people tell me, man, I wish I had done that. But it's hard, it's like you don't want to intrude, and a lot of coordinators would be like, don't do that. Oh, I would also ask my coordinator too, is it okay if I, ask for a picture? Because some people are very private, or they might know the actor or actress. And but I was pretty fortunate. I have
well, like you said, you kind of have to fill it out, because some actors they're totally cool with it.
Yeah, and some
then
are
others,
like Steve Martin.
It just depends on where when you catch them,
Exactly.
because they could be in a mood and they'll be like very not into it.
Yeah. They're like, no, I don't think so. But they, like I said, I always try to catch them at a good time and just kind of throw it out there.
Yeah.
But like I said, when I told friends I did that, I said, it's not like I have the camera with me and I'm like, hey, can I?
Right.
You got to either ask somebody that's close to them first, and then approach them when it's, comfortable, and say, can I do it later?
Right.
At first, it was, take a sip of water real
Yeah.
quick. On Charmed, way back when, you can say we've been in the business a while, when they used to do Polaroids.
Yeah.
Remember like wardrobe for
Wardrobe
continuity?
Polaroid,
Yeah. So a couple of times a long time ago, I'd say you need a continuity shot, and they'd come and they'd take a picture, and then they'd give me the picture. So I wasn't asking for the picture.
Yeah.
It was somebody from production.
Yeah.
So I kind of snuck one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to do that too with all the guys I doubled, and most of them are pretty cool. And then there's a couple that I really, really wanted, but like when I doubled Robert Redford, I was like, I really want a picture with him, right?
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
So and Lonnie was the coordinator, Lonnie Smith, and he's like, you kind of filled out, wait, So I think it was like 2 weeks of working together that I didn't really say anything. And then finally I asked, because he had like a personal assistant, and so I asked her, I'm like, hey, I'd really like a picture. Do you think you could kind of make this happen? And she's like, yeah, just leave it up to me. I'll make sure it happens. Just don't say anything. So I was like, okay. So I waited and waited, and it was like the last day I'm working with him.
You're like, is it gonna happen?
She hadn't come up. She hadn't said anything, and finally there was just a moment where Robert was kind of sitting in his chair, and I was just like, screw it. So I went up and I was like, hey, Robert, you mind if we had a picture together? Our Bob, he liked to call Bob, and he was like, oh yeah, of course, sure, yeah, no problem. So he got up to do it, and right at that moment, like one of the ADs
called him to set.
Came over and was like, Robert, we need you on set, and saw what we were doing, and was like, I could just tell the look on their face. They were like, Duke, that's going to have to wait. That's not the time, right? Kind of scolding me.
Yeah.
It's like, so I kind of was like, I screwed up, whatever. And then at the end of the day, Robert came over to me, and he's like, hey, we never got that picture.
Aw.
We need to get that picture before I leave.
That's
a
nice guy right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so, and it was right in front of Lonnie. So Lonnie's the one that actually took the picture for us and everything. So
you never know unless you ask. And that's what I always tell people. They're like, oh, I'm afraid. I go,
But the personal assistant never came through for me.
Yeah.
Just left me out hanging.
Well, you took matters into your own hands. That's what I did. If you want something bad enough, just go after it. And
I'm like, he is a icon.
Yeah.
So I gotta have a picture with him. But,
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like I said, you just never know.
Well,
Unless
yeah,
you ask.
you kind of have to fill it out and see.
Yeah.
So, but then speaking of being on action heroes and stuff movies, you did Charlie's Angels, right?
I only worked on the first one, and I'm so bummed. Lee Hennessy, Lisa Hoyle, and myself, and this had never been done before. 3 girls. I'm not saying we're the only high fall people because there were some other girls that did high falls, but all 3 of us in one day in one scene did a 95-foot high fall.
What?
And then there was a big explosion.
All at the same time?
No, what it was supposed to be, because you remember in the TV show, it would always start off with a montage.
Yeah.
Excuse me, of action and, scenes from maybe another show. And then it would go into the storyline of that episode, right? Well, for the feature film, the first Charlie's Angels, what we were shooting was going to be in the montage. So it wasn't going to be in the movie. So if you watch the movie, there is a scene where 3 of the stunt doubles do jump off a building and there's an explosion. But it's 30 feet. And I'm not negating it. 30 feet's high, and that explosion was big. So they did a good big stunt too. But the one that we did and never made the movie, it was 95 feet. And it was, what happened was like Lee would jump and then they would move the bag. And then Lisa would jump, and then they'd move the bag, and then I would jump, and they were gonna, CGI, composite all 3 of us at once. Yeah. And then once we did our jump, they did this explosion. It was, 100-foot building down below, and fire and heat. It felt like it was right next to you. It was a huge explosion, and they were going to composite it behind us. Unlike the girls later in the movie, they had the explosion on their back. They were in the heat. Yeah. But it was so exciting to have, this was the first time. And then later in the movie, those 3 got to do it, which was very cool because girls don't always get that opportunity. Right. Yeah. And so that was, obviously a good show for girls because it's Charlie's Angels. But they, it's crazy how they'll shoot so much stuff and what all ends up in the cutting room floor. But sadly, the one that Lisa Lee and I did, it never made that. I don't know why when I went to go see the movie, never saw it. I don't know. Somebody told me it might be in, sometimes when you buy a DVD and there's, extras. What do they call it? When there's behind the scenes
kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I thought somebody said it might be in one of the behind the scenes if you get a particular DVD. But if you went to see the movie, you did not see the fall that the 3 of us did. Man, it was kind of a bummer because we were all pretty excited. And Jeannie Epper came down to support us and, some other
that's
friends.
Huge. They just don't do high falls that
I know,
high very often.
No, it's all green screen.
So you probably never even got any footage of it, right?
No.
Because this is before cell phones are on set and you couldn't just record everything.
Yeah, I wish I had somebody had. I think someone did take a few pictures, but yeah, I don't have any video of it, which is kind of a bummer. But we know we did it, and it was pretty exciting and pretty. And obviously I knew and respected the girls because I've referred, of course, if I get a call and can't do a high fall, there's not a lot of people I refer to do high falls. Yeah. And Lisa and Lee were 2 of the ones that I've referred to do high falls because they are dangerous. Yeah. And
especially that high.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So by the early 2000s, you probably felt like you were kind of established, doing pretty well, huh? And working regularly and being able to double, being a regular double on the show is always an awesome thing.
Yeah. So, like I said, just a blessing.
And, to back up 1 second, and you met David Huggins on Charmed, right? Who became your husband.
Yes.
Yes.
We met before Charmed.
Oh, you met before Charmed.
Well, I had known of him, and we had met and worked on a show, but I didn't know him really well. I just knew who he was, and he did stunt rigging. But he was also married with kids. I don't look at people that way, but I knew he, he was a good stunt rigger, and knew his name, and he was a nice guy. We worked together on a show called Star Kid, a feature film. And I was doubling a girl in a cage that falls, and he was one of the doubles for the alien character in the show, and so we worked together on that briefly, and then didn't see him for a while, and then we started working on Charmed, but we were like a family, just watching out for each other, taking care of each other, but we had worked together for years, and then we kind of went through the same thing at the same time, kind of going through a breakup, and during the breakups, being friends and talking, we just got to know a lot more about each other during the breakups or his divorce and me breaking up with somebody. And I had already known his kids. I had gotten him and his wife at the time and the kids, I'd gotten them into Disney. Because I used to love, I'd get Noonan and anybody who'd call me, I'd always tell them, please let me know if you want to go to Disney.
Because you're already doing Fantasmic at that time.
Yes, and it's so expensive to go there. And I was always wanting to use my privileges of getting people in for free. And so I'd gotten his ex and the girls, he has twin girls, into the park. And so anyway, they go through a divorce, and David told his kids, I won't date until you want me to date, and I won't date anybody you don't like. He was his kids were everything, which I respected that.
Yeah.
And apparently the girls told him, we've already picked her out. so he was like, really? Who? And they said me. Yay. I was lucky. So we all went out to lunch, and we all started hanging out, and so that's how that started.
That's cool.
I mean, obviously, when he went through a divorce, and we were good friends. Once, like I said, because I don't do that. You're married. You're off the menu. You don't look at that.
Off the menu.
And as soon as he was on the menu, I was like, I'll take one of those to go. But yeah, we started dating, and we've been together almost 21 years, married almost 16 years. Thanks. He's awesome. And of course, working with him and his rigging was so smooth, and I always felt safe. And now, I helped, I did have to slow down after a while when he and I got together, and then we got married, because I was helping with the business, stunt rigging business that he had, Stage One Stunts. And he's a full-time job. I love him, but it's a full-time job, keeping, stuff at home. And he was traveling a lot, because when we were married, he'd be gone 6-7 months at a time, and then home for a couple of weeks and then gone again. It was a perk to the business that we got to travel. We got to go to places we never, like Iceland. I never thought I'd go to Iceland. He's worked there twice. I highly recommend it. What was that on? Oblivion first, and then Fast 8, Fast and Furious 8. Both times when I went out there, I didn't work on the movie out there. I got to work on Fast 8, but when it came back into town, Cleveland. But David got to work on the whole movie, and they got to shoot out there, and it was like, and any time he traveled somewhere, I'd research the heck out of it to see what can we do on the weekends while we're there. Because you never know if you're ever going to be back to that country or location. But it was, the people were great, a lot of beautiful scenery. We've been there in the summer, we've been there in the winter. But if you've ever slightly been interested in go, Iceland was very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Cool. Yeah, I have thought about going up there and checking it out, so that's good to know.
I definitely. I mean, Reykjavik, is the main place to fly into. And in the summertime, the only crazy thing is it never gets dark. It gets darker, but not dark. So at 11 o'clock at night, it feels like 7, So you definitely have to have the dark shades or, the little eye masks.
I always wanted to see the Aurora Borealis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
David.
you see those when you were there?
I got to see a little bit. I was so bummed. Of course, when he was on Fast 8 and he was working up north and it was wintertime, he was there for a couple of months. So he got to see the blue, the green, the pink. He got to see a lot. Wow. And him and Zach Henry were working together, and they both had really good cameras. And at the hotel they were staying at, you can be put on the list that, because sometimes it'd come out, it'd just be seconds and then gone. So the hotel, if you want, they will, if they know they see they're coming out, they'll ring your room. Could be 2 a.m. And they're like, they're out. And you just throw on your coat and boots and camera and you run out. And they got some great shots. But when I went out, it was it was like a Thursday to a Monday. It was just a long weekend. I wasn't out there very long. But I had an ice cave tour booked. I had a dog sled. I had all this stuff, planned for the weekend. Yeah. And a big whiteout storm came while I was there. So 1 or 2 of the nights, I got to see a little bit of the green, but it has to be clear skies for you to really see it. Yeah. So out of the time I was there, it was, we didn't get to do everything. We got to still do some things, but everything we had booked got canceled. And the skies weren't that great at night. But he got some amazing pictures. So yes, if you can get out there in the wintertime and during that time, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So
I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, what little I saw, I thought was cool, but they saw a lot.
They have a lot of hot springs up there too, don't they?
Yes, we did go to those,
you did?
which was cool.
Me and Miami love hot springs.
Yeah,
Love
the
them.
popular one. There's one outside of Reykjavik called the Blue Lagoon, I think it is. But there's you'll look it up. It'll pop up on Google. That one was fun. You get in there and rub the white mud all over you, and they'll give you a massage while you're laying in the water. It's kind of funny, but that place was really cool, and that was outside of Reykjavik. But the food was good, and excuse me, the one of the things that the reason why they shot Oblivion there is it's supposed to be another planet. And when you leave Reykjavik and go east, you got the city, and then you keep driving, and you have these beautiful hills, waterfalls. We had a lot of pictures with a lot of great waterfalls. And then you keep driving, you just keep seeing something different. And then you get to where it's these large rocks with this weird moss or something on it, which it started to look like another planet. And then we got to where we were going on a tour. One of those duck boats, it drives on land and then goes into the water. We got to do an iceberg tour and get up close with some icebergs. And cool. There was a black sand beach. But it was just, you just keep driving and you just keep seeing something different.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, if you watch Oblivion, some of the places inland where they had a helicopter too, it really looked like another planet. I didn't get to see that area, but I saw some.
Is it fairly populated though, or not?
I don't know. I've been there twice, but it's also been several years.
Oh, okay.
I can't. Whenever Fast 8 was, that was the last time I was there, and I know things have changed. But I mean, the Reykjavik was pretty populated. When we were up north, it was more scarce where we were. And the hotel was in the middle of nowhere where they were staying. Yeah.
Cool.
But it was kind of cool, but you had to drive to go do anything. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the perks of the business of.
Well, I know you've got to travel Europe a lot too.
Yes.
We were talking. You've been to Italy.
Yeah, David.
Love Italy. Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, we got to go there twice. I'm trying to remember what he worked on the first show, but the last one, because it was so big, Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds and Michael Bay.
Oh yeah.
David won an award, a Taurus Award for that one.
Oh, he did.
Near the end of the movie, the boat, the magnetic scene.
Magnetic
Rewatch
scene.
it. I won't tell you anymore.
Yeah, I have to rewatch
but
it.
if you see Six Underground, it's on the boat and it's all about the magnets. That's all real. I mean, I think they CGI like some knives and stuff, but the people flying, and that David did all that rigging.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
But yeah, he was with over there for 4 or 5 months, and they did a lot. And it was beautiful. I mean, just all the cities they got to shoot in, and I got to be out there for quite a while. I did get to work on it, but. Michael Bay, it's always action. And he's, David's worked with Michael a lot, and they work really well together. But that was, Italy was, and we've only seen, it was probably 4 or 5 different cities they got to shoot in. And then on weekends or when he finished the movie, we went to Capri. Is that the island?
Oh, the island?
Yeah. I think we went down there, and one weekend we had booked, and I was taking my parents, and David was supposed to go with, but it was one of those weekends, in our business. Sometimes you got to work the weekends.
Yeah.
We had a train ride to Venice, and we were just going up for 1 or 2 nights and coming back for the weekend, and David couldn't go. So I just took my parents. We still had fun, but
you still got to go.
My parents and I got
Venice.
to, but David couldn't. So he's never been to Venice.
Oh, really?
But he's been to a whole bunch of other locations, but we definitely want to go back.
Go back. Venice was one of my favorite cities in the world. It's very romantic. So you have to go back there with Dave for sure.
As long as it's not flooding. We were so lucky. The day we were leaving, it started to rain. And you've probably seen pictures or video, but it floods often, apparently.
I didn't know that.
Is it St. Mark's Square? What's the big square?
St. Mark's Square.
Is it St. Mark? Okay.
It'll actually get like a foot or two.
Oh,
water.
yeah.
Wow.
It started raining when we had checked out of the hotel. We were waiting for our boat taxi, and it was starting to rain. And I got my parents on the boat, and we got to the train, and it was the very next weekend on the news. It was like 2-3 feet flooded.
Really?
People are sitting out there at a restaurant, and the water's up to their knees, and I'm like, they would not have had fun in that. I mean, I'm glad that we went the weekend before all that happened. But then someone said, "Oh, that happens occasionally out there. Like, it's no big deal." It's like, I'm glad I didn't have to,
experience
trudge
that.
around in that.
Yeah.
So we fortunately had good weather when we were there. But it's very. Of course, we got gondola rides. We went
That
to.
was awesome. They didn't sing. The guy didn't sing on our ride.
Well, with ours, the guy did, but there was a couple of boats, and the singer wasn't on our boat, but he was with our group. But like we could hear him, but it was. I thought he was going to be on the boat.
Yeah.
So
My guy was on his cell phone half the time.
Oh,
Like he's like rowing with one hand and looking at his cell phone with the other hand.
that's
It's like, come on, man.
the phone. You're at work.
But it was still beautiful. It was
Yeah.
still amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went right at sunset, and we left from Mark Square right there, and there's a big basilica across the river, and the sun was hitting it, and it was beautiful. And then we went back into some of the back, alleyways and stuff, and then as we came back out to the main area where they dock them, it was a full moon that was just coming up over the ocean.
Cool. Oh,
And
wow.
I got these cool pictures of these other gondola driver guys, with their stripes and everything, right in front of the full moon.
Oh,
With their
cool.
gondolas. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get him there.
Yeah.
He got to see
One
a
of
lot
these
of
days.
Italy, but just not Venice.
One of these days.
Yeah, but dang, working on the weekends sometimes. But that's all right.
But that's just going back real quick to Phantasmic.
Oh yeah.
So what year did you start there?
So it's kind of funny. So I told you I met Danny, started training with American Acrobats, was performing circus with him. And we did flying trapeze, single trapeze, high diving show, little double mini. And during the time of me training there, I kept seeing these guys coming over to his house that weren't part of his American Acrobat troupe, but they were practicing on a high wire. They were practicing sword fighting. And I was like, what's going on over there? And he was like, oh, I'm coordinating a show at Disneyland. It's called Phantasmic. This lady Barnett had put it together. It's we're going to be starting to rehearse, and I mean it took several months. But Danny was the stunt coordinator for the pirate ship for the characters that were going to be working on the pirate ship for the stunt sequence. And I was like, that's cool. And originally it was an all-guy audition. Well, Karen, Danny's wife, after a while said to Danny, why don't you ask Barnett if Nancy could try out for one of the characters? I shouldn't say which character. We're not supposed to, but I was the right size and height and everything. And so Danny asked Barnett, the person in charge of the auditions, would you mind if a girl tried out? And because, back then, she'd think stunt men. She'd just thinking stunt men, not stunt women. And she's like, if she's short enough and strong enough, I'll take a look at her. So Karen and Danny approached me and asked, would you want to try out? And at first I was like, I didn't know. At that time, I still hadn't been to Disney. I'd only been in California a couple of years, hadn't even been to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And they're putting the show together. And he kind of explained it to me, but I didn't quite understand what Phantasmic was really going to be. It is hard until you actually see it to explain it all.
Yeah.
And so I kind of hemmed out, like, oh, maybe. And then it was Karen that really was like, Nance, I really try out. And if you don't like it or if you don't get hired, but I really think you should go.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so I went to the audition. I ended up getting hired. So that was exciting. But my particular character had short hair. And I thought, because they kept stressing, the codes at Disney, because back then, you couldn't have tattoos, which I don't have any tattoos.
Facial hair.
No, facial hair. And, guys had to have their hair cut short. They couldn't touch the collar and blah, blah, blah. And because the character I was going to be playing, and I was so scared, I called Danny. And I'm like, am I going to have to cut my hair?
Yeah.
And he was like, no. He goes, you're going to, that's for like, because you have to go through I can't think of the word, but, all the classes before you work there.
Yeah.
And you learn about things.
Didn't they call it like Disney University or something?
Something like that. So you learn things that like people that are working in the park have to learn, but it doesn't really affect us on the pirate ship. But we had to learn it. So I called up Danny, and I was nervous. I'm like, am I going to have to cut my hair? I really wanted the job. It looked like a lot of fun, but I didn't know. I do not. Some girls can go short hair. I do not look good short hair. Some girls can look good and pull off short hair. I cannot. And just ask my husband. He's like, don't do that again. And so I called up Danny. I'm freaking out. I'm like, because I really wanted the job. It did look fun. A pirate ship. Hello.
Yeah.
And Danny,
doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. Danny started laughing. He's like, Nance, you're not going to have to cut your hair. You will be wearing a wig. Don't worry about it. I'm like, are you sure? So once he calmed me down, then I started to kind of get excited, like, oh, this could be fun. Mm-hmm. And I'd done live shows doing the high diving, and then got to do the circus with the Flying Valentines and doing the live shows with Karen and Danny. And so I was like, okay. So we start putting the show together. And of course, it's a 25-minute long show, but our sequence is only about 5 minutes long. Mm-hmm. So of course it's Disney. We need to practice where no one can see us. So we're there overnight, third shift, and putting our sequence together. So I don't see all the other acts or, what the show's going to look like entirely, right?
Right.
We get to the point where we're doing full rehearsal runs. And we took turns sitting in where the audience would be watching or being on the ship or performing. And I'll tell you what, once we put it all together, I had a tear in my eye when the boat came out and when the show did its full version. And because when I heard animation on the water, I'm like, how's that going to look? It was cool to be a part of. Yeah. To tell you the truth, I was excited. I'm like, it's a fun show. I worked with great people. Whether it was the office, the techs, or the stunt guys and girls, I really had fun there. And
Disney knows how to put on a show.
They do.
Yeah,
it was a production,
and they could almost get the whole park could gather around to watch it, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
it wasn't seating
like 40,000 could see it at once or something like that. Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that.
It was crazy how many
thousands of people could watch it, and depending on where you are in the park or the what was that special restaurant? Oh, Club 33.
Oh yeah.
If you were up there, you could see it from up there. But it was, and it wasn't seats like you sit. It was just on the cement, and people would like put blankets down hours ahead and save spots to be up close to the water because it happened on the water, on the island, in the air.
I think some people, like the pass holders, came just to watch the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And like I said, I kept working there, even though I was full-time for a while, then part-time. And then I became kind of a coordinator trainer. So I would train new people.
Well, when I got hired in 2010, I think you were a trainer at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably.
You and Davey and Dan DuPont, I think, were the three trainers. Yeah.
Yep. And I got my 30 years there. But technically, I performed up for 25 years. The last 4 or 5 years, I was more of a they kept me on as a trainer because I was part of the original cast. Davey Thompson and I were the only ones that were part of the original cast that were there for about 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And now Brian Collins is the last one there of anybody that I ever worked with. Well, I shouldn't say that. I trained some of the new people that are there now, but I didn't get to know them that well because I was just a trainer. I didn't get to really perform with them a lot. But they were great and nice, and it was fun. But the people that I really knew and had friendships with, the last surviving one is Brian on the ship. You know, I kept a lot of friendships outside of it. I mean, there were people ask me, why do you still do that show? Because I was working in movies and TV, and I got to working regularly, and I would tease. I'd say a pirate ship is my office. It keeps me in shape, but really,
It's a giant playground.
it is.
It was what it was, really.
Yeah.
And it kept you in amazing shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Swinging on those rope swings and climbing around.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
your part had to do running and jumping and
Yeah, it was a
food
short
tramps
sequence, but it was fast.
It was.
You did a lot, and you
Your heart
covered
was
the ship
pounding.
1.5 times in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was, and in between shows, we'd sometimes have standing back contests. Some of the guys were
not
doing
playing
back
lucky.
tucks, and some or playing lucky, and some of them doing back pikes. I was doing the tuck, not the pike. But and then when Dan DuPont,
I remember when Colin Fallenweider was working.
Yeah.
And Brian Collins and a lot of those guys would pull like one of the little mats out and do
Yep.
backflip and see if you could still do the back full twisting and all that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's kind of, what is it? Add on the trampoline. I'd play for a little bit and then I'd tap out. I'm like, yeah, I can't do a standing back full. I'll just watch you guys. But it was a lot of fun. And then after a while, when Dan DuPont brought us Lucky, the card game, oh, we had so much fun playing that in between shows. And then it became, we'd all meet afterwards, which is midnight, and we'd go play Lucky
cards,
somewhere
play Lucky.
because we were having so much fun. And then we started having
Over
tournaments.
at Davies Hangar.
Yep, where we'd have tournaments, at different people's houses. Or I had one for the 20th anniversary. I rented one of the suites at the Disneyland Hotel, and we had kind of an anniversary party and game. And I loved getting everybody together. So that was a lot of fun. But
Well, we've had a couple of Lucky tournaments out here in
yeah,
Atlanta.
here at our shop, we've had a couple. Dan DuPont got to make one of them. That was pretty awesome.
Come back, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. Come visit. But people say, why do you still do that show? And I said, well, several reasons. I just love the people I worked with. It was a lot of fun. Two, when times were slow, I had a job, and I had my own house, my own mortgage, living alone. I was single, and when
it paid pretty well for what we did.
yeah, for a live show, it did. It paid a heck of a lot more than when I was high
Great
diving.
benefits.
Yeah. When I was high diving, it was a lot of fun and kept me in shape, and I would never give it up. But it was, we did not
make
get
much.
paid very well doing the high. And it was, you're on the 4 meter.
First live show I ever did in Denver, I got paid $5 a show.
Yeah. Ours was $10 a show. And you're diving up to 70, 80.
What?
Yeah. And doing 5 shows a day.
What?
Yeah. That was my starting pay. So, but it was amazing, and it was my stepping stone. I met the right people. It kept me in shape. It kept me out here. I got to do about 3 seasons before. The show was at Magic Mountain for several years. By the time I got out here, I got to do it for maybe 3 years, 4 max. And then they decided to get rid of the pool. So they got rid of the high diving show and the dolphins and sea lions. Because that was, we'd have their show, our show, every other hour. It was either the dolphins and sea lions or the high diving. They decided to move was it Batman?
The Batman and Robin live
Yep.
show.
They moved it and
into
cemented it in. So
Oh,
where
that used to be the high diving.
that used to be the high diving pool.
I see.
Where that is now. But it was so much fun, but it didn't pay very well. But Disney
The first guy I worked for was from that show, David Draves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I knew David. I dove a little bit with him when I first got out there. So yes, it paid well. Worked with great people. Helped when times were slow, like the writer's strike. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but when the writer's strike happened, that was the time. I think David and I were just starting to date, and he was working on a film. So he worked the whole strike. It was already written. It was a feature film written. I did a lot of TV, so my work, it was like, and so I just called Disney at that time I was working part-time, and I said, if you need me to cover, or if you can add a couple of days for me here and there. So I just worked more at Disney doing the live show, and that kept my bills paid, kept my sanity, kept me in shape, a place to train and play and still connect with the people in my community. So,
well, it was a show that everybody wanted to do.
yeah.
It didn't matter if you were working in film and TV or not.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to do that show.
Yeah.
Because
It was just the
fun.
drive.
It was kind of almost a prestigious show a little bit, because it paid so well. It was great benefits. It's Disney.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went to the audition in 2010, I think it was packed. I mean, there was a lot of people at that audition.
Yeah.
And it was like, and they made you do like what, you can't just say I can do this, like a high fall. They made us go out and do high falls at like 25 feet, to see if we're
Yeah, you don't want to lie about
yeah. And it was a hard audition, but I remember when I got it, I was stoked, man. I was
Good.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't have them that often. And for a long while, it was an invite only. It was like Danny Castle, or some of us it would be friends that we had referred to the office. So for a long time, because people liked the show and did so well with the show, nobody left. So we didn't need positions filled. We had a full roster for a long time.
Nobody would leave that show.
Yeah, but when, slowly, if someone left or moved on or moved out of town, or got so busy they didn't want to do live shows anymore. But then it would be kind of invite only, like who do we think could handle it? And then it started to open up, but it still wasn't it was only maybe once a year, not even every year.
I don't think it was every year either.
Yeah. And then it started to get bigger and bigger, and auditions and hiring more people. But it was, it was a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends. Obviously you and I have stayed friends. Zach Henry, Jason Brilliantis, Brian Collins. I've seen Colin Fallenreiter a couple of times since then. Dan DuPont, Richie Burden and Tim Rigby were earlier on. Or Richie was part of the original. Richie and I were roommates for a while. He's the one that helped me get a dirt bike and teach me how to ride a dirt bike.
Oh, really?
My dad had 3 daughters. My parents had 3 daughters, and he wouldn't let me ride a dirt bike or get a motorcycle when I was younger. And I always wanted to ride, and Richie taught me how to help me find a bike. I have very short legs, so we got an 80, and I saw an ad, I saw the price, I asked Richie to go with me, we went to get it, and it was so funny. It was a 12-year-old girl that outgrew it, and she was getting a 125. Her dad was a racer, she was a racer. I'm like looking at the little 80, going, "Hey, can I buy your bike?" And but it was awesome. It was perfect for me, and I learned how to ride. Later, I learned how to ride a street bike, but only for work and for basics, in case a lot of the girls that I was doubling, in case I needed it. And it did come in handy, but I always was honest with coordinators. I'm like, that is not my specialty. I'm good, but basic. And so if it was anything over my head, I'd refer one of my friends like Cheryl Bermeo and I were really good friends. And she is amazing on a motorcycle. So I'd refer her if somebody needed, a motorcycle stunt girl. Back then, but anyway, it was a lot of fun.
It's good to have those well-rounded skills.
Exactly. I love high falls, but there's not a high fall in every movie. So just like you were talking about all your background, tell me again about what you started.
Yeah, because I didn't have what I would call like a specialty coming into the business. So I learned everything I could. And like I think I did the fire dive at Waterworld for years and years, which was almost 50, but the highest into an airbag I think I ever did was right around 50.
Wow.
So I never did a real high fall,
yeah.
But I did lots of 25 footers, 28 footers, like 10,000 probably. And then, my martial arts background, I had good fight stuff. I didn't have a gymnastics background, but I grew up on a trampoline teaching myself stuff, almost killing myself,
Yeah.
So, I wasn't the specialist, but I could do a lot of things well.
Yeah, well, that's smart. I sure, I love high falls, but like I said, they're not in every movie. If the more well-rounded you are,
Right.
the better chance you are, jack of all trades, master of none. But be pretty good, practice a lot of variety,
Right.
and
It was interesting because just on the show, I don't know, I think it was Mark Holmes who was talking about it, the specialty versus a generalist, which is basically that, like somebody who has just one thing that they do really well,
yeah,
versus somebody who can do a lot of things pretty well,
right,
And in stunts, if you come in with a specialty, you usually have to learn some of the other stuff, and otherwise, you've got to. I mean, at a certain point, I think to be a specialist, you have to start when you're a kid, really, to be at that level.
right,
It takes that amount of years and practice and training your brain when you're like that
yeah,
age.
yeah.
So if you miss that window, then you just got to kind of learn as much as you can and get good at it.
Right.
Yeah,
And know when to stay in your lane. If something's that
exactly.
not
Yeah,
everybody should learn high falls, not everybody likes heights.
right.
And we've talked before about, when we're training people and, I loved training people how to do high fall, but what some people would do would go up too high too fast and they'd get hurt because either peer pressure or like, oh, he's doing it, I should do it. Is
Right.
the high falls are very dangerous. Sadly, we know people that have been paralyzed or killed. If you really want to learn them, that's great. Start. I mean, I start people just falling onto the pad. I mean, you can tell a lot when someone just stands there and falls backwards.
Oh yeah.
If they put their hands back or if they sit up last minute, they don't feel comfortable, just laying back and, landing how later they're going to land in the airbag. So
A
you
lot of the
start off
auditions they used
slow.
to bring a mini tramp out, and people just by seeing somebody hit a mini tramp and how their body works and how
Oh,
they land on the pad, if they land ba-boomp, or
yeah.
if they land bump,
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. You got to start with the basics. I know some people are like, I want to get up there. It's like, we start here, then we get on a little wall and then we'll get up there. We'll eventually get up there, but you can tell, how quickly someone's going to graduate up, just starting low and just taking your time. I mean, there's no competition here. It's like, but if again, I've had some people who are like, that's just my thing. They tried it and they're like, it's just not my thing. That's smart. Then stay away from it. I loved it, but I'm also fortunate I did gymnastics when I was younger. And so gymnastics, swimming and diving, I had a lot of aerial awareness practice. So then
Yeah.
when I, for stair falls and car hits, that really helped. I didn't have a lot of martial arts. I had started martial arts later in life, but it was still fun and I still learned some martial arts, but I wasn't a martial artist. Because I remember I had it, my mentor, Maria Dost, at Stunt Women's Association, she had her own dojo and we used to go and train there. But it was more training for movie. Like she would show us camera angles and how you can throw a punch and you don't have to be close. It's where you put the camera. But she was also teaching us the proper kit. She was Taekwondo.
Technique. Yeah.
Techniques.
Yeah.
So I had good kicks, and for a while I had martial arts on my resume. But then I realized I'm not a martial artist like she is. I can do fights. So I changed it to fights.
Yeah.
I'm not a Diana Leona Santo, a Marie. I'm like, I'm not putting
Yeah.
myself in that
In that
category.
Yeah.
I was friends with them. They're a martial artist. I learned some martial. I was never made it to a belt. I started in Illinois before I came out here, taking some Taekwondo, but then I moved out to California and, like I said, started training with her more for movies and just learning the proper technique. But that was a lot of fun, and then she is the one that sponsored me into Stunt Women's Association, and I was in that group for almost 25 years. I'm now I'm not active. I'm an honorary member now.
Okay.
But I had served on the board for years. I was, served every position.
Nice.
I had the fortunate experience of being on the board with Jeannie Epper. I was her vice president. She was the president at one time. And,
And to get into that group, you had to be asked.
yes, you had to have worked so many years in SAG, made so much money per year. You had to have worked with, I think it was 2 to 4 women in the group. So other women in the group had to have worked with you and seen you on set, seen your etiquette, So yeah, there were some rules of being put in front of the board to see if they wanted to vote on getting you into the
And
membership.
then were there dues that you had to pay for
Yes,
that?
yes, monthly dues.
Monthly dues.
And we had an office for a long time, and then we moved offices. But Stunt Men's Association helped the Stunt Women's Association when it was created. They used to use their office room. So
Okay,
at the
cool.
very beginning, they would meet there, and then they broke off and got their own office. And Paula Dell, Jeannie Epper, Linda Howard, a lot of and Maria, Joyce McNeil, a lot of the older, helped kind of create the group and keep the group going. I'm not sure who's still active right now, but it's been around. It's the oldest women's stunt group. There's one or two other groups, but been
That's
around
the
the
first one.
longest.
Yeah.
Yep. And then obviously, just like Phantasmic, met a lot of friends from there, a lot of friends from Stunt Women's Association that I keep in touch with. And then over at the Television Academy, Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, they didn't have a category for stunt coordinators to win an Emmy. Stunts weren't in it. They thought stunts are just daredevils. It was Spice Williams and Conrad Bachman that fought for years to educate the other governors at the academy that we are not just daredevils. We are professional athletes that train all the time, that we are the ones that make you, the actors in the actors group, help make your action look good
Yeah.
and safe and keep you safe.
Yeah.
It was years, but we finally broke in and became part of that group. I was on the first board, and then a couple years later became one of the governors. And I got to be a governor for 4 years. It's a 2-year term, and then you can get voted in again for another 2-year term, but then you have to take a break, which I think is good because it mixes it up, people on the board, so it's not the same people on the board all the time.
Right.
And so that's how the Television Academy works. So I got to do 4 years, and I had so much fun. Ted Barba and I, one year, because we would throw the nomination party for the stunt coordinators that were up for an Emmy that year. Mm-hmm. And so once we got in and got our foothold and, kind of saw how it worked and how to throw a nomination party for the stunt coordinators every year, a couple weeks before the Emmys, I asked him, Ted and I asked him one year, can we theme the party? And
Theme
they
it.
were, theme it. Because
Yeah.
usually it was just a formal, dress up. It was a nice party, some appetizers, drinks, we'd show their the clips that they were nominated for. We'd bring them up on stage, give them their certificate, and tell them, obviously, good luck at the Emmys coming up and great work. Well, we started to theme our parties. And the first one was 70s and 80s. We both were, because of course, Ted got to work on some of those. He's been in the business that long, but I got to watch, Dukes of Hazzard, Wonder Woman, Bionic Woman. And we
yeah.
called these actors and asked them to come and present the certificate.
That's cool.
So we got Bionic Woman, Lindsay Wagner to
Nice.
come. We got Baywatch. I'm spacing.
Baywatch with Pamela Anderson.
No, the guy.
David
Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like, blah, it's right there. He came. We had Paul Michael Glazier from Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, nice.
We had, was it Roger, the helicopter pilot from Magnum PI?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, it was so much fun. One, Ted and I got a whole bunch of videos, cut them all up of some of the old shows, A-Team and this and that.
Yeah.
So we showed that at the party. We encouraged people to dress up in 70s and 80s clothes. We had that music afterwards. We had the actors, present the certificates. And of course, we showed the clips of the nominees that were nominated that year. And it was so much fun. So the next year we did Roaring Twenties. And not right before, while we were planning it, I read a magazine. I was living in Santa Clarita, and I was looking at a magazine, and it said something about, silent movie night. Come watch Robert or Bob Mitchell, one of the oldest organ players from the silent films. He was in his 90s. He was one of, I think, at the time, only 2 surviving original organ piano players from the silent films. And we're doing a Roaring Twenties. I was like, I need to meet this guy. So we went to that event. It was there in Newhall. And I asked to, speak to his representative afterwards, got his information, told him what we were doing, and that we would love for him to come play at our event. He agreed. And one of my favorite pictures from that night is David and I and Bob Mitchell on stage. David and I in our 20s garb, and a picture with him after the presentation. And he passed away like a year later. And it was just such an honor to meet him. He wouldn't let us pay. He even came to rehearsal that afternoon. And he wouldn't let us pay. He just genuinely loved what he did, and
that's cool.
I thought that was pretty cool to have that little piece of history that night, and have see what people got into dressing up and coming as a theme. And then one year it was Western, so it was really fun, not only to honor the stunt coordinators finally, but just to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And then I was on the board
do they still do that
I don't. I think they do sometimes. Yeah. After I left, I think they did like a Hawaiian one.
Okay. Cool.
But and I think there's been some others. Because I moved out of town, I haven't been to all of them, and haven't been lately. But it was a lot of fun. And
how many years did you do that for?
Well, I was a governor for 4 years, but I was on the board for like at least 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because Carl and Lane were governors first, and then I think it was Lane and I, and then Ted and I. Excuse me, and then I think it was Ted. I'm trying to remember the sequence, but probably 8 to 10 years at least I was on the board,
nice.
Whether governor or just on. And then I was off for several years, and I think Leslie Aletter was a governor and asked me to come back, and I came back on board for a year or two. But there's been a lot of great people on the board or in the governor position representing us. And I'll tell you, the first year when you're in the room with the governor from animation or actor or wardrobe, it's like a deer in headlights, because we were new, and right. So we're like, how does this work, And but fortunately, we had some friends in the room that kind of helped kind of tell us how it's run and make us feel comfortable. And now, at first, it was just stunt coordinators, and they got a category for stunt person. So now, not only do the stunt coordinators get an Emmy or have a category, but a stunt person can submit their work and as a particular stunt, just like the Taurus Awards. And the Taurus Awards started because at that time, we both came out at the same time, the Emmys and Taurus, because I think his name's Dietrich, the person who created Red Bull, and he met people at the Day in the Dirt and a lot of stunt people, and he found out that there were no awards because the Oscars didn't give awards to stunt people, Emmys didn't give awards to stunt people. He was like, "What do you mean you don't get an award?" SAG, I can't remember. They may have, but maybe it was just coordinators. I'm trying to remember when SAG started, but he created the Taurus World Stunt Awards. And I remember the very first one. I mean, they were amazing, and they still are amazing. But it started off, they were all at Paramount. It was outside. There was actors that were presenting the awards. There was big bands, or singers that would come and perform. And it was just so cool for somebody like that to want to honor a group that was, the silent behind the scenes. And I understand, because even when the Emmy came out and the Taurus Awards, there are some people in the business that didn't like it. They're like, we're the behind the scenes, the actors are the stars. And they are. And there's that.
I agree with that. But if the Academy Awards were only for actors,
exactly,
then sure. But they
give them the hair, everything. Makeup, wardrobe,
music, hair, cinematography.
Yeah.
That's all behind the scenes.
Right. So, exactly. I know. But, some people didn't like it, which I respected that. I'm not going to argue with them or say they're right or wrong. I'm right or wrong.
Some guys were like, no, I don't want the awards because then everybody's going to want to be a stunt person. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, but
Yeah, I don't know, but that was neat that he created that and has kept it going. I think they just had their 25th. I couldn't go. I was helping a family member, but David went with our daughter Mandy just a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
and I think it was their 25th this year
I think
for
you're right.
Taurus Awards.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he said
so.
it was really nice, and it was pretty cool. Debbie Evans got a lifetime achievement
Awesome.
award,
She
and
deserves it. Yeah,
yeah, that was
yeah,
pretty cool. But so we both at the same time, that was the first year for Emmys to be awarded to a stunt coordinator, and for the Taurus World Stunt Awards that Dietrich, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but the gentleman from Red Bull, I thought that was pretty awesome what
yeah,
he started and what he's continued to do for
yeah,
25 years.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty
It's
cool.
not. Yeah, it's not cheap putting that on and making those awards.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
And Ted and I doing ours, we had a budget, but he and I were so into it, we didn't mind pulling a little out of our own pocket just to make it a little different and a little special for the coordinators. We had
right.
a lot of fun putting those together.
Just talking about stunt women a little bit is always amazing because stunt women usually have to wear things that can't hide pads very well.
Yes.
So, especially like you coming up, I'm sure you had to run into a lot of jobs like that where you had to just tough it out because there was no place to hide pads, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That's the biggest difference between a stunt man and a stunt woman is wardrobe.
yeah,
I've had to do stunts where the guy next to me is in leather jacket, jeans. He's got elbows, hips, knees on. I'm in a mini skirt, tank top. I don't have elbows, knees on, and we're doing a stair fall or we're doing, jumping out of something. But that getting in, it's going to happen.
yeah,
So we've, sometimes don't get the luxury of wearing pads all the time.
right,
But through the years and the technology, like the ice skaters, those real thin gel pads, the knees and the elbows you can wear. Sometimes you can get away with wearing a flesh colored either unitard or, pantyhose and hiding those. So it has come a long way, and sometimes we are able to, but that's kind of the business for stunt women is you can't really complain about it.
right, yeah.
It is what it is.
And even because Iami, she's had to do a bunch of those jobs too, and even if you have the covering, sometimes the clothes are so tight
It's
that
hard
you
to
can't
hide.
even put a pad under.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And our business has always been whether it's work or no work or the wardrobe thing. Sometimes you can wear pads, sometimes you can't. I've always said our business is a roller coaster ride, and you got to enjoy the ride or just get off because it is what it is. Sometimes you get to work and you see the wardrobe, you're like, yes,
yeah.
all right, I'm doing a car hit and I
Or
can
high
fully
dents.
pad up. This is awesome.
High dents has been a big one too.
Yes,
Since that they started using that because you
yes.
can make that the color of stairs or concrete or
Exact, just the
whatever.
technology, yes. Because way back when some guys would fall off a horse or they were just digging up the dirt to soften it up. I mean, those guys were tough.
Yeah,
And then later we come along and we thought we had it tough. You look at what the guys behind us did,
yeah,
and then now the guys now say they got it tough. No, look what we did, but it's progressed and gotten
right.
better and a little safer. And
I'm sure the first stunt guy to ever wear pads was made fun of
yeah,
big
it's
time.
like, what's that, you sissy?
You sissy, what are you
Yeah.
using that for?
Yeah, it's come a long
You're a
way.
man.
It's definitely helped the women and the men. Like you said, sometimes if you can't wear a pad, but they can, color the floor. And Ernie was really good with that.
Yeah,
If you weren't going to like a carpet, sometimes he just putting a tumble mat under a carpet would help somebody, if the
yeah,
camera's not going to see. If you can't put a pad down, you can't pad up.
yeah,
But him and Noon were so good at just those little things
yeah,
that could help take the cushion off. or,
Right.
help cushion the fall.
And it actually helps the stunt become better because you'll give it more when you're not so worried about hitting and getting hurt,
Yeah.
and you can do it more times too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get a better performance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, those were two that I was very fortunate and blessed to work with. Noon and Ernie a lot, which was awesome. Of course, on Charmed, but other shows also. Brett and Al Jones, another father-son pair that I just love like family, and I got to work with them.
My first stunt on a movie was for Brett Jones.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome.
Yeah,
I
he
love
is.
him like a brother. He's the best. I mean, he's a good chip off the old block. His dad's just so cool. And so, what did you do? What was the show?
It was for Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain. With the little boys, that were the Three Ninjas.
Oh, how fun.
So that was done. It was shot in Colorado at
Cool.
the theme park that I was just happened to be working at doing a live show.
Oh, that's funny.
And the funny story is we were just doing our show, and after the show, these three guys come walking up, and they step onto the stage. And so me and the other stunt guys are like, whoa, whoa, hey, you can't come up here. And they're like, oh, no, we wanted to talk to somebody. We're going to film a movie here, and we just watched your show, and we want to put you guys and the show in the movie.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, okay.
You're like, sure. Yeah, exactly.
I think it was like the director, producer, and location scout guy or something.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, we're going to be back in about a month or so. Here's our card, we'll let you guys know. I was like, okay. Never really thought any more about it. And sure enough, month they came by and they came back. They shot the movie and they put our show, which was like a Wild West show,
Yeah.
it wrote it into part of the script. Got to do my high fall
Cool.
for it and little fights and stuff. And then Brett liked us so much that he changed our look and used us for bad guys later on doing other stuff. Got to do a fight with Hulk Hogan, actually, beat up by him.
Oh, that's cool. I liked him.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. And he did a high fall off of so they had a loop roller coaster, and in the movie, it's supposed to get stuck in the middle, and then one of the people fall out. So
That was Brett.
went up on that loop roller coaster,
Yeah.
did a high fall, probably close to 100-foot high fall off of that thing, which was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Besides a good coordinator, he was a talented stunt guy.
guy, too. Yeah.
Fortunate he got to grow up in the business, and
Yeah.
he's been doing it a long time. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Doing a high fall like that, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, those are two great pairs that I just really appreciated all the work I got to do, because they did a lot of TV, and I was more of a TV size double.
Right.
Those four. I mean, thank goodness I worked with a lot of different coordinators, but they hired me over and over and over. And Jim Vickers was another one that hired me on several different shows, and I had a lot of fun working with Jim and his crew. But if you look at my resume, it looks even TV to feature film, but as doubling girls or women or kids or older ladies, it was mainly TV.
Right.
I was 5'1", so Holly on Charmed, and Hayden on Heroes, and Emily Proctor on CSI Miami, Melissa Joan Hart on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She was a sweetheart. I doubled her, and Hilary Duff on Lizzie McGuire. So I was that size,
Yeah.
and I had friends of mine that were more, 5'5" and a little skinnier than me. And they were working all the time in feature films and doubling the action actresses in feature films. So when I'd work on a film, it was either doubling a kid or ND stunt work. It was still fun. I still appreciate every day I get TV or feature film. But I just, besides those earlier movies, the low budget movies, I doubled the stars. Like, we talked about Kathy Long and Sue Price. I had a lot of fun, but TV was more my niche. So it's one of those, if you keep knocking on a door and it doesn't open, but this one does, just keep knocking on that door. And so it's like commercials. I had an agent and did a couple of national commercials throughout my career, but not a lot. I would do well. I'd get a lot of callbacks, but I would never grab it. There was a couple that I was fortunate to have, but after a while I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stick with what works, and I just really focused on, the TV and doing that. And then, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a wonderful career, and, the timing of it was great because you came in as stunts were really developing, going from, just being tough and get it done and figure out a way to it being more of a science, I guess, in a way where everything was really, thought out and planned really well. So, I mean, I look at the 80s and 90s kind of being like that. And then you had, the early 2000s. Yeah, we had CGI, but stunts were still huge.
Yeah.
Wire work had come in and being a part of all of that. And, before AI takes over.
Yeah.
And who knows where that goes. But, it, like we kind of talked about, they were saying that way back in the 90s too, so
Yeah.
it may not affect us as much as we hope, or it may not affect us as much as we fear, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, when I did Titanic, and if you see the movie, there's that scene where the guy falls and then hits the propeller. I remember after it was very cool to work on that and to be a part of such a big movie. And but I remember after filming and the movie came out, people were saying, "Oh wow, that CGI is getting so good, they're not going to need stunt people anymore." And this was, 94, somewhere around
something
there.
like that. Yeah.
And so, obviously from then until now, yes, we've seen CGI get better. We've seen a little AI, blah, blah, blah. But obviously now, just with our last strike and negotiations, AI is a big deal, not just for our industry, but everybody. But of course, in our industry, the progression now is so much quicker.
Yeah.
From a long time ago, we saw it. It was, David calls it that slow boiling frog. You put the frog in the water and slowly boil it. It's just like, oh, this jacuzzi is great. And then it's dead. It's like, it doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's that, now it was slow and gradual. Now it's like, it's in your face and it's getting better and it's getting better quicker.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen? We don't know. But it's one thing to plan. It's another to worry. Worrying about it is not going to do anything. But plan, enjoy every day you get right now.
Yeah.
We're all still doing stunts. Our nephew just got back into town, been working for 6 months with our rigging, and, enjoy every day you get and try to learn about AI or learn what's maybe progressing slower, find your niche or, find something that they need or can't live without or train something. But don't worry about it, but plan. And just like I said, we're just enjoying every day we do get. A lot of things are changing right now, but obviously AI is definitely at the top of everybody's lists and mind. And with our business, we've already seen it on commercials lately. You've seen it, with some of the actors that.
I've seen it in movies too.
Yeah.
I've seen it in a driving sequence on something I watched recently. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, a friend of ours was so excited, just got a call. It was like a week's worth of stunt driving, and she was, and that's her favorite thing to do. And then got a call back. They either cut back the action, and then they said they were just gonna CGI something or whatever. She lost the job and she was kind of bummed. But that's what's happened. It's like high falls. I love doing high falls, real high falls. David's an amazing rigger, best rigger. Love my husband, but I don't want to be on your wire. I want to do the high fall. That's what I enjoy doing. Some people that don't like high falls would love to be on a wire. They're like, put me on a wire, drop me off that 100-foot building. But I love doing the real high falls. That's just one of the things I enjoy. I love being airborne. But in the last, several years, I've lost real high falls because of green screen or wire work, and they changed it, or, and so it has, it started to affect me years ago with the thing I love to do, but every once in a while I'd still get a real one. So that was it was just kind of, 50-50.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, going forward, I don't know how many high falls people are really going to do. You never know. You might still get that call because some people still like, and some coordinators still like and push for the real stuff.
Yeah.
So just, we'll do it
Yeah,
as
we'll
long
just
as
have
we
to hang out
can.
and see what happens,
Yeah.
And like you said, not just in our industry, but the world in general. I mean, I kind of sit back and watch stuff going on, and it's like we kind of live in some strange times right now with AI, on the horizon. Well, not even the horizon here. And so many talks about aliens now, disclosure. And we had talked yesterday a little bit about our common interest in like ancient buildings and structures around the world that are unexplained, like the pyramids.
Yeah.
Um,
Those documentaries are awesome. I love just things that the unexplained. I love watching that kind of stuff. Whether it's aliens and people's sightings, like if so many people are saying the same thing, there's got to be something going on up there. Or like Graham Hancock, all the documentaries he's done, and digging into the pyramids or Göbekli Temple and just these places all over the world, and how old they are and how they're similar, and they're not near each other. So it's like, what was going on? The symbols,
similarities in the building, and all of them using these huge monolithic stones that they don't know how they moved them, how they set them up, and where they got them, and how they were able to cut them so precisely to fit together. And a lot of the symbols are the same. It's
and we can't recreate it today in 2026.
Right.
And they did it way back then, and we're still, it's like that song, things that make you go, it's like, how did they do that? We still can't figure it out.
It's fascinating.
Oh, it is. I love watching those documentaries. And last night I was watching again the one in Indonesia on Java. I can never pronounce, the names are so hard. Ganang Panang.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about? The one, it was these big black, look like basalt or something, but it's on top of a hill, and it's a step pyramid, and it's just, it's unexplainable. But the 300 and so many stairs to get up to it, and then it's a step pyramid, and they're still trying to figure out how did they get them up there, and it and what it's made out of it's kind of a normal, what do you call it, volcanic, but the way it's cut, the way the mountain is, there's walls. Yeah. It's not just like, oh, there was a volcanic explosion and this how it ended up, a neatly packed wall. You're like, I don't think that's natural. But it's fun to watch those documentaries and just learn something new, or, what do you think? What do you think happened? Because and that's what he's doing. He's going around checking out these places and asking the questions. And they keep finding things, or doing the sonar and finding things deep inside that mountain that look like chambers. And you're like, what is that?
Right.
But they haven't gotten the permission to do the dig, which I understand. It's so hard. It's like, you want to know what's going on down there, but also, the time, money, energy, and then the destruction you'd have to do to get in there to look at what it is, whether it's the government or whoever's in control of saying yes or no, you can dig there.
And some of it, like Göbekli Tekli,
in Turkey,
is they've stopped the digging, and they've weirdly have like built stuff over the top and laid sidewalks and stuff down, almost intentionally to hide something.
Yeah. Do you know about the trees?
Weird. I think I heard about it, but go ahead.
On one of the documentaries, or it was either Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan loves all this stuff too. So I listened to a lot of his podcasts with people, and it was discovered. They did a lot of digging. They saw a lot of stuff. They wanted to keep going, but then they got shut down. By the government or whoever controls that area. They started to plant, I forgot what kind of tree, or certain trees that are illegal to cut down. And
Interesting.
and because when they, found what they've, exposed so far, and they did the sonar, and they were finding stuff, like you said, there's a lot more
It's a
up
lot
there
bigger.
than what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But they were, I knew about the trees. I didn't know about the sidewalks or whatever else.
Yeah.
But months ago, I heard about them planting those trees so they couldn't, because it was illegal to cut them down. I'm like, what are you hiding?
Yeah.
Or they just don't want you to disturb, which I
Well, I think,
understand both sides. Like,
it's because it's cool because if you look like at the traditions, we have all of these, mythologies like about Atlantis. Mu is another one. I think Tartaria, like all of these ancient, very highly technical, civilized, civilizations and cities around the world, but they were all thought to be make believe and myth,
Yeah.
because it's are really only 5,000 years old since we started, civilization, and so now they're finding things that are 12, 13,000 years old,
yeah.
that are more advanced than what we can even replicate, and that they strangely all kind of stopped and were destroyed, some kind of destruction event that kind of halted it, and covered it up.
Yeah.
And so, now we're kind of figuring out this alternative history, which kind of points to other weird things about stories about people coming from the sky, watchers, or an
Yeah.
Anunnaki, building and even maybe, making some kind of race with humans, and all this kind of crazy,
Yeah.
weird stuff
Yeah.
that I think mainstream historians are like, oh, no, whoa,
Yeah.
no, we don't want,
That's like the
we
book
don't want
of,
that in there. No,
yeah. That's
that
like the
messes
book of
everything
Enoch,
up.
right? The one that was taken out.
What's that?
The book of Enoch, isn't that the
Oh
one
yeah,
that
the
was
Book of
taken out of the
Enoch's got
Bible?
some
And
crazy stuff.
crazy
in
stuff
there.
in there, and
Yeah.
the giants, and because it's like, yeah, is it angels? Is it giants? Is it, what is it that's
Well, in
helping?
one text they're represented as angels, and others they're just kind of these beings that came from the sky. Aliens, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
But definitely something from that's not here, that's not human, that kind
Or
of.
is it human from the future?
Oh, there's
Because
that
then I
one
heard
too.
that,
Yeah.
the whole time travel, and it's from the future, and look, they could be people coming in here. There's all sorts of theories out there, but it's fun to listen to and watch and just kind of go,
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and it's also
Well, I was just going to say, I think these next few years, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out and changing, and even as AI develops, and you were able to use AI to
right.
learn about and discover all these things, it could change a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, AI is gonna affect everything. Medical, really.
The medical world. Yeah.
Yeah, David, we always talk about that. It could, if in the right hands, it really could do amazing things in the medical field.
Well,
But
and
it all
they've got-
depends. It's all on who controls it,
Exactly.
just like
Yeah.
anything else.
And quantum computers that can solve equations that a regular computer would have taken billions of years to solve.
Yeah,
It's
it's pretty freaky.
And they solved it in 15 minutes or something. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, you're like,
That's scary. Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and David and I like watching these shows too, just because we love to travel, and some of the locations they go to are just beautiful or intriguing, So that's another reason why I like to watch all these documentaries. I mean, it's they travel all over the world, and you're
Is
like,
there a place you want to go?
well, obviously, definitely the pyramids. Love to see that sometime and really go out there and not just the pyramids, but so many of the temples and just the buildings and the statues and the detail in some of these areas are just beautiful. But yeah, the pyramids, Göbekli Temple, I would like to go to Turkey. I have a friend that's from Turkey. I would love to go there, not right now, but I would love to go to Turkey.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the others. Oh, Easter Island
Yeah, that would be
with
cool.
those
Yeah.
big heads, but not just heads, like bodies buried in the ground.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've been to Chichen Itza, which was pretty cool with Dorinda and our friend Debbie, and that
Is that
was
a temple complex? What is that?
yeah. It's a pyramid. It's in Mexico, and it has at the base it has a big head, the head of a snake, and
Hmm.
then you go up the stairs at sundown. The way that the shadow is where the stairs are and where the head of the snake is, it looks like a snake body.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Cool.
But the stairs, I forgot how many stairs, and they're pretty steep. I remember when Dorinda and Deborah and I were up there, they're not big on heights. So when we got to the top, they were kind of hugging the wall of the inner little building.
Yeah.
And there's no railing. At least when we were there, there might be now, but Dorinda was just laughing. She's like, "This would not be in the United States. There'd be a railing. They probably wouldn't even let us climb up these stairs."
Yeah.
But it was really neat. And I was sitting down kind of on the edge and I was taking pictures. And Dorinda's like, "Get away from the edge." I was like, "I'm not going to jump off." And it's,
Yeah.
it's at a slant. It's not, straight down. But it was just really neat. But I wish I knew and had seen more documentaries before I went to appreciate more of what I saw. I was always intrigued and it was still neat. But now looking back, I was like, man, I wish I knew more and really absorbed and took more
Yeah.
time there.
Appreciate what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was cool to see one of the ones that I've seen on these documentaries and go, I've been there. That was cool. So, but yeah, there's a lot of,
Because you did a lot of diving, like scuba diving, right?
yes, yes.
Have you ever? Because there's a lot of underwater sites,
Yes.
ancient that are supposed to be ancient. Have you seen any of those?
Where she and I were, there was a little bit with some statues under the water, but nothing huge. The big scuba diving I did was wreck diving
Oh, cool.
in Truck Lagoon at the Chuuk Islands. So I did a lot of wreck diving, which was cool, but I haven't. I would love to do some diving and find some,
Yeah.
some of these, ancient civilizations or cities underwater that they found. That would be cool. So I've done a lot of scuba diving and I loved it, but I haven't seen anything that cool.
Okay.
That would be cool.
I know there's one off of Japan that's supposed to be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. That they think was some kind of ancient city or something.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. I've been to Japan, but I haven't done any scuba diving out there, but I was there once. And I had a really good visit. That was cool.
Yeah.
We got to.
Was that for work or?
No, it was with my friend Maria Dost, my mentor. She, with her dojo, had some students that had a kata tournament out there.
Oh, cool.
And I had helped her out with some things, and she wanted to thank me, and she called me up and said, "I want to take you to Japan." And I'm like,
a big
"What?"
thank you.
I know. And she said, "I want to thank you for some things I did for her." And I said, "Just take me to lunch and thank me." And she was like, "Okay, I want to take you to lunch in Japan." And so
Wow.
I was like, "What?" And so she paid
Hopefully
for
you like Japanese food.
yeah, well, it was funny. It was kind of hard. She paid, for the hotel and the flight, and I just had to pay for, food and, everything else. And our friend Ace came with us too. And Ace and her were good friends. Ace was a boxer and martial artist. So we went out just to kind of support her and her group. But we went to Tokyo, Kyoto, and then Naha City was where the tournament was. And Tokyo was very cool. We had a lot of great, the people were great and the sightseeing. And then we got to ride the bullet train, which was cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And then we got to stay in Kyoto. We got to stay at a 700-year-old temple, which was very cool, but it was August.
No
And of
AC.
course, they don't have air conditioning. They leave the windows open. It's like 110 degrees. You're sleeping on, we're at a real temple. We're sleeping on the little mats, at breakfast, you're on the floor and your little table having your breakfast. But the and the doors close at 9 o'clock. If you're not in, you're sleeping on the sidewalk. They're not going to open if you knock and it's after 9. They're not opening the door for you. And it was Ace's birthday when we were there, so we went out and we had to make sure we got to get back by 9.
Had a curfew.
Yes, we have a curfew. We don't want to be sleeping on the sidewalk. But what a neat experience. But it's funny because, they warned us ahead of time. There is a large spider in the bathroom. Do not kill it. So, it's they don't kill anything. No.
Buddhist temple, they don't kill anything.
Don't touch the spider. So we would take turns. Someone would go in and identify where the spider was and then watch it. And then we would take turns.
Keep eyes on it.
Let me know where it is. It was pretty funny, but that was a neat experience and very nice people. And then we went to Naha City, and that's where the tournament was.
I was going to say real quick, Miami and I did the same thing. Stayed in the temple in Kyoto, which was a great experience. It wasn't as hot. We were there in November maybe, so we didn't have to worry about that. But then in the morning, they let you go sit in with the monks.
Oh,
when they do their morning ceremonies and chants and everything.
That'd be cool.
And that was an amazing experience. You're just sitting there, and there was probably 20 monks or so, something like that, and they all start chanting, and the whole room was just vibrating. Wow! Like, because you have these 20 guys, and they're like the kind of deep chant, and then they kind of get faster and faster, and yeah, it was a really cool experience. I never experienced anything like it, and
that's cool.
Like you come out of there, like really revived and ready for the day.
The energy,
energized, yeah, because of all of the energy and vibration in the room. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
The only chanting I heard were the cicadas. The cicadas were so loud. Yeah. I didn't get that experience. That sounds pretty cool. And then, Naha City. But it was hard for me food-wise because I'm a very picky eater and I don't eat red meat. And I'm not big on cabbage. Yeah, well, at the time, it was so funny. I lost a lot of weight in those 2 weeks. But we found this one bakery that had this bread, and I was like living off this bread. One day, there was an A&W root beer, and I thought, I'll get a chicken sandwich and some curly fries. And I don't eat a lot of fried foods. Well, I took a bite of the chicken sandwich, and I was like, it wasn't cooked all the way. Chicken. So I was like, I couldn't eat that. So I just ate the fries, and sure, they tasted good, but the greasy, curly my stomach was just like, what are you doing? Yeah. So, and I love salads, but over there, I don't know if it's changed, but their salads are cabbage. I'm more like spinach and mixed greens and kale. Theirs is cabbage. And I do not like cabbage. So I'm like, what am I going to eat? But other than that, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was definitely challenging for me on the food aspect. But, that was almost 30 years ago. Maybe I can find.
Yeah, probably changed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was there, though, it was almost 30 years ago. But
yeah, the people
But I knew
great.
where to go. So, I knew where the Sizzler was and,
Oh, there was no Sizzler.
Found out where all the American spots were so I could get my American fix when I needed it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's neat to travel and, have different experiences. And then you come back here and, we have it pretty good here. Yeah. We love to travel, but we love to come back home. And just like David working, those 6 months in Italy with Michael Bay and Ryan Reynolds on 6 Underground, we'd eat whatever we wanted and lose weight. And you come back, eat the same thing, and it's just the stuff in our food that they allow in our food.
They don't put so many preservatives and stuff that's just not needed in the food.
And not healthy. I mean, the list of what's not allowed in the food over there is so long. The list that's not allowed here in America is so much shorter. You're like, why is that? We need to lengthen that list.
I agree. And a lot of the food companies complain. They're like, well, if you put all those restrictions on us, then, we'll go out of business or whatever. Yeah, but they're already making it for those countries.
Exactly. See, that argument doesn't hold any water because for Canada and, when they ship it off, it's the same cereal or the same whatever, but yet.
They don't add all the other crap to it.
Yeah. You can do it.
Yeah.
You just don't want to do it, or someone's telling you not to do it. I don't know what's going on there, but it can definitely be healthier here. And obviously there are movements right now trying to make it healthier, which I think is really good for everybody. You know, who doesn't want to be healthier? I don't know. I mean, I've tried to be healthy my whole life, but I'm constantly learning something new. You know, before I was like, drink water. Water's good for you. Well, I never knew you could drink too much water. And you can drink too much water, flush your electrolytes, and you know, have issues.
Yeah.
You know, take
I've
vitamin.
had that issue actually.
You did?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So people get hospitalized for that.
Go get IVs and everything. Yeah.
Yep. And you know, when you're younger, everybody says drink water, but no one says, but don't drink too much, to make sure you drink electrolytes too. I didn't know what an electrolyte was growing up. I was an athlete, so I was always drinking water, but fortunately, apparently, I never drank too much. But
When I was growing up, they bring orange slices in
yeah.
the soccer games.
Yep,
you know,
yep, I
for
remember.
halftime.
Yep.
That was our electrolytes.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, didn't know what it was for, but I remember having them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So traveling, you know, the food was so different all over. But David, he loves trying. Like we've been in Australia or Iceland, and wherever we are, he loves to try whatever meat, you know, emu or bison or kangaroo, or, you know, wherever you are, he loves to try that. And like I said, I'm just not a red meat eater, but, you know, I try certain foods where we go, but he's definitely more open and exploring more. And so he loves to do that when he travels too.
So what's in the future for you? Are you going to continue still dabbling in stunts? Are you going to travel? Are you guys, what do you guys?
Well, David's pretty much fully retired. He'll come help. You know, Michael took over the business, and he's done an amazing job. Dave and I are really proud of him. And
Well, he's like the pretty much top rigger in the business right now. So,
yeah, and people just enjoy working with him. He's a nice guy. He's good at what he does, and he's got a sense of all the Huggins have a great sense of humor. You know, David, Michael, Tony, Jacob, our daughters, Mandy and Sarah, they his mom, dad, they have a
Runs in the family. Huh?
Oh my God. I wish I was as quick-witted as any of them.
Yeah.
But so they're fun to work with because they'll make you laugh. But they're good at what they do, and they know when to be serious, and, you know, when they can, you know, mess around with you, because you got to keep it lively, because what they do is dangerous, and they have people's lives in their hands every day, you know, and you need that little comic relief every once in a while. But yeah, David really tried to train Michael and Jacob for years, and train them not just with the rigging, but also, you know, handling production, and there's so many different departments you have to deal with, and it's great. David and I will be at an event or just out at dinner and maybe bump into some stunt people or someone that's in hair and makeup. But no matter what department it is, if they hear Huggins, they'll say, "Oh, is Michael, you know, are you related to Michael?" And we'd say yes. And they'd say, "Oh my God, we love Michael. He's so great." And David, I'm like, we're so proud of him. He's really doing a great job.
Yeah, he's made quite a name for himself.
Yeah. And David made him work hard for it. You know, it wasn't given to him. You can ask Michael. David was hard on him and made him work for it. He didn't hand it to him.
Yeah.
And he really earned it. And you can tell he's, you know, and he appreciates it. And then his younger brother Jacob came out years later and was living with us, and we were training Jacob. I took him to Rick Siemens and Tempest, you know, learning stunt driving, and he's just a natural athlete. I took him; he was great at high falls. Just took to it real easy. And but they were all really good athletes. Tony, which is David's brother, Michael and Jacob's dad, amazing gymnast and athlete. David. The boys, so they all are very talented there. And then, you know, getting into the stunt rigging part, both the boys are really good running the winches. They're good with timing, because, you know, in our business and what we're doing, it's all about timing.
Yeah.
And so Michael's doing a really good job taking it over for David. So David's pretty much retired. He'll come back, you know, if you need help for a week or two. He just doesn't want to be the top dog for 4 to 6 months. You know, he did it for a long time.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. Yeah. He loved it. he does. We do miss it, of course,
Yeah.
but he doesn't mind going back and dabbling and helping a little bit. But he's done being the boss, and I kind of semi-retired. Us moving around and both of us having parents at an age that their health's changed a lot. And of course, I love working and making money, but family's the most important right now. And both of us have been having to take care of some family members, and that's the most important, is family and friends, helping them out. And that's where I'm going this week, is to help my mom out a little bit. So, but, if I get a call or if there's an opportunity, I'd love to do it. Of course, I used to love car hits, high falls, fire burns, but, the older you get, you just got to listen to your body. Pardon me?
You loved car hits?
I have a screw loose.
Yes, you do.
My mom
Not
said
too
I'm
many
a
people say I love car hits.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else. They are dangerous. I can't even explain it. I did probably 5. Wow. Some of them are on my demo reel. The one that really got my mom, and she was like, I don't ever want to see that again, was the Nash Bridges. And it was so funny. Most car hits, when you get hit, it's an accident. So they slam on the brakes. And a lot of them, when you get hit, you hit the windshield and then roll off, right?
Yeah.
Those are what I call the easy. They're still dangerous. I'm not saying every car hit is dangerous. It's a car.
But it's like the oops.
Yeah.
And you hit the brakes.
They hit the brakes. Well, the first one I had to do, I went up, Merritt Yanka, sadly is not with us anymore. He was amazing, and he was so much fun to work with. He hired me on Nash Bridges, and I flew up, and I knew it was a car hit. I said, first thing I asked, what kind of car is it and who's driving? Because one, I'm so short. I want to know what kind of car am I dealing with? And two, I think it was a Mustang or something. But anyway, and then who's driving? And so I fly up there. And so we're standing by the car. It's going to be later in the afternoon, but we're talking about the scene, what's going to happen. And he says, I said, okay, I'm looking at the car. I go, great, it's a low profile car, blah, blah, blah. I said, do you want me to get spit off to the left or right or just straight? And he was like, oh no, I need you to go over the whole car. It's not stopping. Wow. Now, I don't know if you remember the movies, the Kodak moment. I don't know or not movies, sorry, the commercials. Okay. It was a Kodak. In my head, my face was, what? The car's not stopping. I hadn't done one of those yet. But outside I was like, okay, gotcha. All right, let me rethink this. So it was so funny. So like I said, having aerial awareness, having that gymnastics background has saved my life on every car hit I've ever done. Yeah. Because car hits happen so fast. You don't have time to react. It's just instinct. Whatever's going to happen. You can get up on the car. You can hit your mark. But when you get spit off, it depends on the angle of the windshield. It depends on the driver. It depends on the speed, how fast and where and how you're going to get spit off. You cannot guarantee anything up into a certain point. You just have to go with it. And even when I watch it, I don't even know how I knew, but they had an actor in the car with the stunt guy. Usually the actors aren't around when that kind of stunt is happening. And it was only about 13, 14. It sounds slow, 13 or 14, but stand outside a car and just let a car go by you at like 14, 15.
It's not slow.
It's not slow if you're going to get hit. If you're in the car and cruising in a parking lot, you feel like, gosh, this is so slow. But then, get outside and try to get hit by it. And especially at the time, I was like a $105. I was very light. Well, when I hit, I did break the windshield. Doesn't take that much force to break a windshield. And I went up and over, hit the ground and rolled, and I lay there until they say cut. And the actor was one of the first ones to me. Poor guy was like, he thought he killed us. They were kidding. He thought, they killed me. And he comes running up. And of course, the coordinator's like, you okay? And I'm like, thumbs up. And even when I watch it, it was just, I didn't hit my head. It looks like I hit my head on the ground, but I just ducked and rolled at the time that I needed to.
Right moment. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just the background and tumbling and gymnastics, because I don't even know what I did. I just did instinctively what felt. Yes, thank God. Because that was definitely, some stunts you don't mind doing over and over. That one was like, I'm glad we got that one in.
Like you said, it's so unpredictable. You can't reproduce the same thing.
Yep.
In that situation.
Yep. Yeah. In the scene. And the reason why I'm doubling the counselor, and she's with a little boy that had narked on some bad people. And so the bad guys were trying to run the little boy over. So she and the little boy are walking across the street. The boy sees it, jumps out of the way, and the counselor sees it too last minute. She's like, what's boom, and she gets it. So that's why the car doesn't stop. But that was fun to do, but I'm glad that we only did it once.
Yeah.
And then years later, not John Clay, Ben Scott. Ben Scott calls me up for a car hit on rollerblades.
Oh.
Walking dogs on rollerblades, and then getting hit by a car. So that was challenging. And we got to do a little finagling there. And that was a car in the middle of a turn. So not even going straight. So that was I hit my mark and everything, but the way you get spit off. But
on that one, was it oops? So he basically hit you on accident?
Yeah, that was an accident, but kind of in a turn.
And so I think you hit up and kind of had to come back off again?
Well, I got spit off to the side in the turn. Yeah.
I see.
But the way I described it, different people love doing different things. I don't know. Car hits made me feel alive, if that makes sense. They were very dangerous, but I liked them. And I can't even explain when you get hit by a car and the energy when it spits you off, and then you're okay.
It's like, but it's like a rush. You can't
exactly.
You cannot duplicate any other way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I said, only one time did I kind of get hurt. I got called to do a car hit with.
Did they have a real dog in that scene?
No, I mean up until then, but yeah, no, no dogs were harmed in the making of this film. But it was just funny, the whole scenario. Dog walking on rollerblades, I'm like, and gets hit by a car. I think it was not 6 underground, 6 feet under. Do you remember that?
6 feet under.
6 feet under, I think was the show. But I was fortunate that I didn't, get hurt on any of the car hits. I did one for Holly, did a couple for Ben Scott, and then one was an SUV.
Wow.
And it was
SUV.
I'm 5'1". It was like,
how'd you even get up on the hood?
That's what I think it was Ben Scott on this one too. I said, I'm gonna have to use my hand a little. I'm gonna have to. And he was like, do whatever you need to do. It was, and it was one of those, again, 2 girls, and one of them dives out of the way and the other one gets hit. And that one was a little freaky because, normally I aim to get my back on the windshield. On this one, the way I got up and I got hit, it swung my legs around. So the car's coming at me. All of a sudden, my legs are here and my head's here, and I slide up the windshield, and then he slams on the brakes, and it spit me off really fast, backwards and upside down.
Oh, geez.
And I didn't know where I was. And again, whatever I did instinctively, I didn't hit my head.
Huh.
But I was like, and it clipped my hip. I had a girdle, I had pads on, but just the way I had to get up on it, there was that one moment where a spot wasn't protected. And of course the car hit that spot.
Yeah.
But I fortunately didn't break anything, just bruised.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to like them. And then after a while, David, when he and I got together and some other situations had happened, he had asked me not to do those anymore.
Oh, really?
And I agreed.
Yeah.
I didn't want to push my luck. I enjoyed them. I did a handful. I liked them, but I was like, the older you get, you just got to choose. Instead of getting hit by the car, I'll drive the car. Right. You just got to be.
Put me behind the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, not everybody. Just like High Falls, not everybody. If I hadn't
You're
had
probably
that,
the best person to be behind the wheel actually in a car hit because
because
you've
I've
done them.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky on both ends.
It is. It's
It
very
really
tricky.
is.
Yeah.
Because if you have a straight up and down windshield, it's easier to hit it and come off. The older cars, the newer cars, and the aerodynamic, because you can hit them and skip up them so easily. Little things like that. You got to look at the car. But nowadays they break them down. They make them a lot safer. And one of the ones I did do, they built a platform in the grill. And so I stood on the platform and they drove the car. And then, on my cue, I dove into the windshield, but I was already on the car,
Already on
crouched.
it. Huh.
And, and then they spit me off and then another angle.
It's interesting when you do it.
So there are safer ways to do it, which is smart. But
Sometimes they incorporate wires and
exactly.
do them a lot now too.
Yep. Yeah, David's done some of those before, whether it's with a real person or a dummy, and they've made it look really good. I think it was Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, that was
one.
amazing.
Yeah, that one was.
Was he part of that?
No, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to say it wrong. I think it was Kenny Bates, but
Okay.
I know Kenny Bates has done. He was telling me about one Kenny Bates did the other day, so I'm trying to remember.
Did he use a dummy on that one?
On the Meet Joe part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that they did it, it really was.
Well, it was cool because there was no cut.
Yeah.
I remember you just watched Brad Pitt walking across the street, turning around to say goodbye.
Yeah.
No cut.
Yeah.
And then boom and
Yeah.
over the top.
Yeah, that was,
Whoa.
I think I don't know if it was one of the first ones, but one of the best ones with a dummy or and like you said, the way they filmed it. They're getting better and better with stuff, just like we talked about. But we'll just enjoy what we do get and take it one day at a time. That's what Ernie always told David. Ernie was so busy and was like a circus performer juggling all these shows, running from show to show. But I can't remember if it was David or I said, how do you do it? And Ernie would always say, one day at a time. You can't worry about, obviously plan and organize, but take it one day at a
Focus
time.
on what is in front of you.
Exactly. What do I have to do today? What do I have to get done? What show? And then I go to the show. It's one day at a time. He was so busy. He had to just one day at a time. Yeah.
So that's what your future is, focusing one day at a time?
Yes.
Take it one day at
If
a
work
time?
comes, great. I still want to work. I do miss it. Obviously, I think it's 33, 34 years I'm going on.
That's a good career.
I feel very fortunate and blessed. Some of the people I got to work with, whether actresses or stunt coordinators or stunt people. I know there's so many people I'd love to say thank you to or honor that have helped me in the business. But it's so hard, in 33 years to sum it up in an hour or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And like you said, that time of, I was going to say earlier when you were saying my stint in the business from beginning until now, a lot of these new people don't know what Thomas Guide is.
Oh,
did you ever use that back there?
I did.
The map.
Hustling.
Oh yeah, hustling and getting the map out.
Pager.
Going,
have a pager.
having a pager,
And a
going
pocket full of quarters.
Oh yeah, going down to the shoot sheet office, getting the shoot sheet, what's
And go to
shooting that
Bill's
day.
or wherever to figure out who's coordinating.
Yep. You get the map out, you get your list. Look, who do I hit first? Who's working for who? And you're going to places you don't even know if they have a coordinator. You're just going and hoping there's a coordinator.
You hope they're there. Yeah.
A lot of these new people don't know what all that is. Yeah. They didn't have the
and there's
joy
no picture of them on the internet, so you don't. If you've never met the coordinator, you don't even know for sure what they look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then just hustling and using all that, and then having the joy of sneaking on to, getting onto Warner Brothers or getting onto one of the big stages. And then of course after 9/11 it got tougher, and then later it got even tougher. But yeah, we had our
You felt like you really accomplished something.
Yes.
If you were able to make it to set and see the coordinator
and give him your headshot.
You felt like That was a good day.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, even if you got one handed out a day. But, the goal was to meet as many people, give them your headshot, say, please keep me in mind if you need a double or ND. And that, obviously it's different, but still challenging for the new people. But yeah, each kind of group of people had a different way of getting, like a lot of our older friends, like the Jeannie Eppers and Charlie Pacherni's, they started off doing other things on set, whether it was extra work or, and working their way up to doing stunts,
Right.
and learning a lot of, how it's filmed, not just the stunts itself, and then becoming coordinators and second unit directors and stuff like that. I it was just a lot of hustling. I never did extra work. I know some people, that's how they got in. They did extra work. And if you got so many SAG extra vouchers, then you qualified to get into SAG, and then you can be a SAG performer and then do stunts. I didn't know about that when I first got out there. The only way I knew was to get Taft-Hartley. And then that's what Bob Brown did for me with Albert Pune, the director.
Yeah,
So that's how I got in. And then, but like I said, each group has to do it differently. And like you said, now it's, a lot of, you got stunt contact, and you got a lot of meeting people is through their email or through production. I liked that face to face. I mean, it was fun, but sometimes challenging because when I met Rick Avery, I didn't really know him. I knew of him, of course. And Bob Brown told me, you need to go meet this guy. And so I knew where he was. I had my headshot, and he was like down in a tunnel working. I forgot what show he was working on, but it was very hard to get to him where they were filming. Yeah. And I, of course, did the whole, I got near so he could see me, but I wasn't too close. I was waiting for that moment. And then I asked the AD, can I go say hi to the coordinator? Yeah. So I went up there, and I said, hi, my name's Nancy. My friend Bob Brown told me to come by and say hi to you. And I don't know if you know Rick. And he just looked at me. He looked at my resume, and he looked at me, and he's like, I don't know Bob Brown. And he was like, I don't like Bob Brown. And I'm all like, I'm so new. And I'm just like, is he messing with me, or and then he gave a little smirk, and he started to ask me questions and stuff. And I'm just like, it's so hard, especially as a girl, you're out hustling by yourself, and, are these guys picking on me?
Brown.
Yeah.
That guy.
Exactly. And I'm like, Rick, you're killing me. But he's really nice. Dave's really good friends with him. He's a nice guy. But boy, he gave me a little mini heart attack. I'm like, I'm never coming to see you again. I'm sorry.
Bob Brown is one I'd like to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because his son, didn't his son do the big high fall in the movie Fall Guy?
Fall Guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, him and John Epstein were an awesome team and did a lot of work. And then those, like I talked earlier about Noon and David, when they work on a set and they think and work so well together, because he'll start to say something and David's already doing it. Bob and John were like that, just a really good team. Yeah. So.
That's cool.
But yeah, so that's...
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just take it one day at a time then.
Yes.
See what happens.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
And keep watching those documentaries.
Exactly.
Things that make you go,
Yeah. And keep watching this.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yes.
So thank you guys for tuning in and joining us, and hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back with another one soon. Until then, remember to like and share and subscribe, please. That helps it out, lets me know that this content is actually reaching people and people like it. So please do that, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.